Chapter 4110. Bone Honing. Xiaohua and Dragon Vein. Xiaohua originally wanted to follow Phoenix Body Xiaohua to get the spirit fruit, but when they heard Xiaohua's shout, they stopped and turned to look at the palace door. However, the entrance of the palace was completely empty. There was nothing out of the ordinary. Bone Honing. Xiaohua frowned, picked up a spirit fruit, took a bite, and walked towards the palace door, vaguely calling out, "Damn, could it be the Demon Emperor again? What is this guy doing pretending to be mysterious? Is he trying to lure us into an ambush?" "Fellow Taoist, be careful," Xiaohua said anxiously. "We'll go take a look together." "Hee Bone Honing." Xiaohua laughed. "No need. I want to see if the Demon Emperor's bones are harder, or if I's bones are harder." "Fellow Taoist, why do you have to act alone?" Xiaohua opened his mouth, but before he finished speaking, Dragon Vein Xiaohua in the distance laughed. "Fellow Taoist, you don't have to pay attention to him. The Demon Emperor has lost his demonic weapon, so I'm afraid he can't do anything to fellow Taoist. Come and taste this spirit fruit. It seems to be good for our physical strength." Okay. Xiaohua also felt a little exhausted at this time. Seeing Bone Honing Xiaohua's figure disappear at the palace door, he turned and walked towards the spirit fruit. Bone Honing Xiaohua said disdainfully, but he was also vigilant in his heart. While eating the spirit fruit, he carefully walked into the palace next door. However, this palace was empty, and there was nothing. Bone Honing Xiaohua was a little unwilling, and he walked through a few more palaces before preparing to return. However, just as he turned around, a pung sound came from the palace not far away. The Bone Honing Xiaohua was startled. He clenched his fists and tiptoed over. This was a palace hall that was exactly the same as before. The words, A40, floated on top of the palace hall. There was no one inside the palace hall, but the two doors in front of the palace hall were flashing with 7 colored rays of light. Bone Honing Xiaohua slowly walked in front of the rays of light, took a look, and then his figure disappeared into the palace door. Xiaohua stayed in the palace that seemed to be a statue. He picked up a spirit fruit, stared at it for a moment, and put it in his mouth to take a bite. Sure enough, when the juice of the spirit fruit entered his stomach, a burst of heat gushed out, spreading to Xiaohua's limbs, and that rare state of exhaustion from before was somewhat alleviated. Damn it! Xiaohua's eyes turned quickly, looking at the spirit fruit and that strange statue. He thought to himself, "What's this situation? Ever since I started cultivating, I have never felt exhausted. Even if I was seriously injured, even if I lost all my magic power, I have never felt this way. In this Star Moon Palace, could it be that I've become immortal? If I'm immortal?" Thinking of this Xiao was suddenly startled, and an indescribable fear rose from the bottom of his heart. If this Xiao was immortal, wouldn't this Xiao be killed by a random demonic tool? Since eyes Xiaohua's eyes to Xiao to Xiao Xiao Xiao. Xiaohua Xiao Xiao Xiaohua. Xiao 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 to Xiao Xiao S to return. Okay. Xiaohua swallowed the spirit fruit in his hand, clapped his hands, and stood up. Seeing that Phoenix Body Xiaohua and Devil Spirit Xiaohua also wanted to follow, Xiaohua's heart moved and he said, "You two wait here. If we don't find fellow Taoist tempered bones, and he comes back by himself, wouldn't we be rushing for nothing? You two wait here, you can be considered a backup." Xiaohua and Xiaohua looked at each other and said at the same time, "That's fine too. The two of us will wait here. And you two shouldn't be afraid of the Devil Emperor's sneak attack." Xiaohua nodded, and then said to Xiaohua, "You were a bit reckless earlier, Xiaohua. You shouldn't have let Xiaohua go alone." Xiaohua frowned, showing slight displeasure. Xiaohua didn't want to let Xiaohua go alone. But wasn't it because of Xiaohua's words that Xiaohua gave up chasing? However, thinking that these clones were all separated from his primordial spirit, Xiaohua didn't say anything. Without looking back, he chased after the Bone Honing Xiaohua and entered the hall. "Wait for me, Dao friend," Dragon Vein Xiaohua said and hurriedly chased after him. Only Phoenix Body Xiaohua and Devil Spirit Xiaohua were left in the hall. Xiaohua entered the hall, looked at the scenery that was no different from before, and then looked at the words on the roof and said loudly, "Where is Xiaohua?" Xiaohua didn't respond, and Xiaohua took Xiaohua of the Dragon to choose a door to continue searching. However, after searching for half a cup of tea's time, he still didn't see Xiaohua's figure, And even Xiaohua himself was a bit lost. No. Just as he was about to step into a door, Xiaohua of the dragon hurriedly shouted, "Dao friend, we've just passed through this door. We should go to that door." Xiaohua looked around and said doubtfully, "No. I don't think we've been here before." "We've definitely been here before," Xiaohua of the dragon said with a smile. "Dao friend's sense of direction is not strong. Naturally you can't sense it, but I can see it." This Xiaohua hesitated slightly, thought for a moment and said, "How about this, we'll go in and take a look first. If we've really been here, we'll go back to that hall, how about it?" "No need, right?" Xiaohua of the dragon said somewhat proudly. "I still have this confidence." "Let's go." Xiaohua was too lazy to say anything more to him, and stepped into the hall. Xiaohua of the dragon saw Xiaohua enter without permission, and was a little displeased. He chased after him and said anxiously, "Why don't you believe I's words?" However, after entering the hall, although it was also empty, the text number was indeed unfamiliar. It was the place where Xiaohua and Xiaohua of the dragon had never been. "Have you been here before?" Xiaohua asked coldly. Xiaohua of the dragon was a little embarrassed, and argued forcefully, "I haven't been here, but I seem to have been here before." Xiaohua frowned again, glared at Xiaohua of the dragon, and didn't say anything else. He looked around and shouted, "Where is Dao friend Xiaohua?" Seeing that there was no sound again, Xiaohua and Xiaohua of the dragon once again looked for another hall. Xiaohua and Xiaohua of the dragon vein had different opinions. Xiaohua wanted to go in this direction, while Xiaohua wanted to go in that direction. After several compromises, both of them had their own right and wrong. Finally, after arriving at a palace, Xiaohua said coldly, "Fellow Taoist dragon vein, are you listening to this poor Taoist, or this poor Taoist will listen to you?" "I'll listen to whoever is right." Xiaohua of the dragon's expression was also indifferent, and replied, "I feel that Dao friend can't distinguish the direction. After searching for so long, you still haven't found Dao friend Xiaohua, and now I'm afraid you've already lost your way. Why don't you listen to I? You are a clone of I." Xiaohua was a little angry. "How can I listen to you?" Xiaohua of the dragon smiled and replied, "Dao friend is right. I am a clone of Dao friend. But don't forget, fellow Taoist, since you've created our clones and cultivated the external incarnation technique, then we are no longer simple clones, nor are we the clones of the dragon clan. We're real cultivators. Since we are real cultivators, why must I listen to you?" This Xiaohua was dumbfounded. He had always treated his avatar as himself, and his avatar would come and go as he pleased. Similarly, his avatar would also obey his orders and would never resist. What Xiaohua had said about the dragon vein, he had never thought about it. However, what Xiaohua of the dragon said was right. What was the purpose of cultivating clones? Previously, he wanted to find a helper for himself, but since it was a helper, he had to cultivate the external incarnation technique, and let the 10 primordial spirits cultivate separately. But since he wanted the 10 primordial spirits to cultivate separately, it was inevitable that they would have their own personalities. It was inevitable that they would be independent. Xiaohua had already noticed some signs of this situation in the heaven prison. Sometimes he might not know what Xiaohua of the dragon race and the other clones were thinking, especially when they were hiding something from him. He was unable to detect it. Xiaohua was already somewhat vigilant towards this abnormality. One of the reasons why he looked for Baiyun Monastery, and even rescued the 10 southwest sects, was to obtain the inheritance of these sections. The Tao cultivators of the ruins did not cultivate nascent soul, but primordial spirit. Xiaohua could not obtain the solution from the cultivation of Confucian cultivators, so he wanted to find some solutions from the Tao sects of the ruins. However, Xiaohua still did not expect that Xiaohua of the dragon race would have such an idea just after the battle with the Devil Emperor. Since Xiaohua of the dragon race had it, wouldn't the bone-tempering Xiaohua and the other clones also have it? And the bone-tempering Xiaohua who went to find the Devil Emperor by himself, wasn't it a manifestation of wanting to be independent? He did not seem to understand, and was kept in the dark like this. Seeing that Xiaohua was silent, Xiaohua of the dragon race smiled and said, "Since Dao friend is lost, why don't you let I lead the way?" With that, Xiaohua of the dragon race waved his sleeves and walked towards a palace door. Xiaohua looked at Xiaohua of the dragon race's back and felt that it was exceptionally unfamiliar. He pondered for a moment and followed him. As soon as the two of them passed through the palace door, they heard a huge rumbling sound from inside the palace. Haha, I was right? I really haven't been here before. Xiaohua of the dragon race laughed loudly and pointed at a corner of the palace. Xiaohua's face was full of dark clouds. He looked at the corner of the palace and saw that there was really a cauldron for refining weapons. The fire in the cauldron was boiling, and something that looked like a sword embryo was floating quietly above the fire. The fire in the cauldron looked purple-green, and the temperature was extremely high, but the color of the sword embryo did not change at all, as if the cauldron had no effect at all. Xiaohua felt a sense of familiarity in his heart, but he couldn't tell where he had seen him before. Almost at the same time, Xiaohua of the dragon race also had a strange feeling in his mouth and cried out in surprise. What is that? Xiaohua was shocked and hurriedly followed Xiaohua of the dragon race's finger again. He saw that there were some bloodstains on the ground on the other side of the cauldron, and a line of blurry handwriting was written next to the bloodstains. To A31, see Xiaohua sucked in a breath of cold air and said anxiously, This is the blood of the bone-tempering Xiaohua? When did he have flesh? Chapter 41:11. Fellow Taoist Dragon Vein Xiaohua was somewhat dissatisfied and said indifferently, We have flesh and blood since our avatars. Fellow Taoist must have looked down on us, so you never thought about it, right? No. Xiaohua shook his head and said, Even if fellow Taoist Tempered Bones was injured, he would still rush back to find us. How could he go to A31? This must be a trap of the Demon Emperor. We should hurry back and meet up with fellow Taoist Phoenix Body and fellow Taoist Demon Spirit. After speaking, Xiaohua turned and left. However, when he walked to the door, he was stunned again. He turned and said, Fellow Taoist Dragon Vein, why aren't you moving? Dragon Vein Xiaohua's words almost angered Xiaohua to the point of smoke coming out of his 7 orifices. This poor Taoist feels that this was left behind by fellow Taoist Tempered Bones. He was seriously injured and was rushing to A31 Hall. He is currently waiting for our rescue. We should go to A31 Hall first. Fellow Taoist, are you sick? Xiaohua said angrily. How does fellow Taoist Tempered Bones know about A31? Why didn't he return to A31? Why did he go to A31? Naturally, it's because A31 is close to here. Moreover, presumably fellow Taoist Tempered Bones also came from A31. He knows there is a hiding place there. Dragon Vein Xiaohua pointed at the hall and said indifferently. Xiaohua looked up. Sure enough, A28 was written on it. Just looking at the number, it was indeed not far from A31. Xiaohua pondered for a moment and said, I don't think it's possible for Xiaohua to run so far. This is a trap of the Demon Emperor. I have to rush back to A31. As for where to go, you choose yourself. The fellow Taoist in Xiaohua's mouth had now become you. After speaking, Xiaohua passed through the hall door without looking back. Of course, Xiaohua stood outside the hall door and waited for half a cup of tea's time, but he still didn't see Dragon Vein Xiaohua come out. Xiaohua sighed slightly. He was very disappointed in his heart, as if he had lost something. He turned around and walked towards A31 according to his memory. After walking through so many palaces, Xiaohua saw a lot of palace numbers. Although these numbers didn't have any particular pattern, Xiaohua still knew them from big to small. Without too many twists and turns, Xiaohua returned to Palace Hall A71. However, to Xiaohua's disappointment, no matter if it was the Phoenix Body Xiaohua or the Devil Spirit Xiaohua, they were not in the hall. Xiaohua couldn't help but punch the stone wall of the hall and cursed. Damn it! These clones look like they're about to rebel. See, just as he finished cursing, a sharp pain came from Xiaohua's hand. Xiaohua looked at his fist in disbelief, only to see that it was badly mutilated and blood was flowing out. Damn it! Xiaohua looked at the faint bloodstains on the stone wall, and couldn't help but curse again. Ever since he started cultivating, when had he ever been injured by punching a stone wall? With a wave of his hand, Xiaohua wiped away the bloodstains on the stone wall. Xiaohua was startled, but he saw that there were some black marks under the bloodstains. He hadn't noticed them before, but now they were especially eye-catching. However, just when Xiaohua wanted to take a closer look, a series of footsteps came from the distant palace door. Xiaohua hurriedly turned his head and saw Xiaohua, who was covered in blood, stumbling in from the side of the palace door. Ah! Fellow Taoist bone tempering. What was going on? What happened? Was it a trap set by the demon emperor? Xiaohua was greatly alarmed and hastily ran over. Just as Xiaohua passed by the statue, he was once again alarmed, because all the spirit fruits that were previously placed on the statue were now rotten, and the smell of dust assailed his nostrils. However, Xiaohua couldn't care about these abnormalities now. He hurriedly wanted to run over and support Hon Xiaohua, who was about to fall down at any time. However, just as Xiaohua approached Hon Xiaohua, and before Xiaohua's arm could touch Hon Xiaohua, he saw Hon Xiaohua's bloody fist. Boom! Xiaohua was caught off guard and was hit in the chest. Xiaohua's figure was sent flying along with the wind from the fist, and he felt an indescribable dizziness. Xiaohua's mouth was sweet, and it seemed that blood was gushing out from his body. The robe on his chest was also torn by Hon Xiaohua. Damn it, Xiaohua was in the air. Seeing Hon Xiaohua rushing over again, Xiaohua was shocked and said, "Hon Xiaohua, are you crazy?" Woo! Unfortunately, Hon Xiaohua whimpered, and didn't allow Xiaohua to say anything. He rushed forward and punched Xiaohua. Seeing this, Xiaohua was helpless. He used the ethereal steps and used the Big Dipper magical fist to fight Hon Xiaohua. Hon Xiaohua was originally Xiaohua's clone. Although he practiced the Big Dipper magical fist a lot, how could he be Xiaohua's opponent? However, bone tempering Xiaohua's body was sturdy. Xiaohua didn't dare to meet force with force a few times and could only dodge. While Xiaohua was dodging, he anxiously said, "Bone tempering fellow Taoist, what happened? Where are you injured? Is it the demon emperor's doing? Where is the demon emperor?" Roar! Hon Xiaohua roared. His eyes were red, and he desperately rushed toward Xiaohua, completely ignoring Xiaohua's question. Xiaohua slightly leaned to the side and dodged Hon Xiaohua's attack. Hon Xiaohua crashed into the huge statue and staggered to the ground. His whole body twitched a few times and stopped moving. His two eyes were wide open, as if he died with grievances. These two eyes were looking at one of the three heads of the statue. Ah! Hon Xiaohua, Hon Xiaohua? Xiaohua truly felt that this was inconceivable. He had never thought that he, or even his doppelganger, would die so easily. Even if he died in the hands of the Devil Emperor, he should have fought until the sky turned dark and the earth turned dark. He walked a few steps, squatted down, and shook Hon Xiaohua's body. He even raised his hand and placed it on Hon Xiaohua's mouth and nose to check. He used his finger to check Hon Xiaohua's pulse, but he didn't find any vitality. After a while, Hon Xiaohua's body gradually turned cold. Xiaohua had no choice but to believe that Hon Xiaohua was really dead. Xiaohua was heartbroken, but he also felt that it was somewhat inconceivable. After all, he didn't know whether Hon Xiaohua was breathing or had a pulse when he was alive. But looking at the coldness of Hon Xiaohua's body and the blood on the ground, Xiaohua couldn't help but believe that after entering the Star Moon Palace, no matter what the cultivator's cultivation was, even if it was a clone, they would be no different from ordinary people, and would easily die. Boom! Just as Xiaohua was thinking, a loud sound came from outside the other palace door. It seemed a little ethereal. What is this strange thing? Xiaohua was shocked. He didn't wait to raise his head and immediately shouted, "Which fellow Taoist is here? Quickly come over, fellow Taoist, Hon Xiaohua has fallen." Seeing that there was no reply, Xiaohua hastily got up and rushed towards the source of the voice. After he rushed out of the palace door and made several turns, his eyes suddenly lit up. He entered a large hall that looked like an auction house. This large hall was divided into 2 floors. Xiaohua entered from a high platform. At this moment, Xiaohua, and Xiaohua of the dragon bloodline were all present. However, Xiaohua and Xiaohua of the dragon bloodline were squatting on the high platform. Xiaohua of the dragon bloodline was lying on the ground. Looking at Xiaohua of the dragon bloodline's arm that was hanging on the ground, Xiaohua of the dragon bloodline had a bad feeling in his heart. "Fellow Taoist Phoenix body, what's going on? Why are you here? Why aren't you waiting in A71? Xiaohua shouted and quickly rushed over. Unexpectedly, before Xiaohua could get close, devil spirit Xiaohua immediately jumped up from the ground and kicked Xiaohua. He said fiercely, "Damn it, you're still asking us what happened? Didn't you kill fellow Taoist dragon bloodline? Didn't you also ask us to come? What are you pretending for?" Devil spirit Xiaohua's punches and kicks were naturally inferior to Xiaohua's. Xiaohua raised his hand to block devil spirit Xiaohua and said in surprise, I just heard the roar and hurried over from A71. How could I kill fellow Taoist dragon bloodline? Moreover, where is this place? I have never been here before." "You're still pretending." Phoenix body Xiaohua raised his hand and pointed. "You said to ask fellow Taoist I and devil spirit Xiaohua to come to A31. Isn't this A31? Xiaohua was shocked and looked up. Sure enough, A31 was written on the roof of the palace. Damn it, so A31 is right next to A71. Xiaohua suddenly realized. However, at this moment, Xiaohua saw from the corner of his eyes that on the second floor of the pavilion, a cloaked figure slowly stood up. The figure was holding something that looked like a god-slaying crossbow in his hand. Quickly dodge. Xiaohua was shocked. His figure hurriedly rolled on the ground and rolled toward the palace door on the high platform. Boom. Just like the sound that Xiaohua heard in the A71 hall, on the second floor of the pavilion, a rumbling sound resounded, and a dark brilliance streaked across the sky like lightning, instantly landing on Xiaohua's back. Xiaohua screamed miserably, his entire body fell to the ground, and that huge impact nailed him firmly to the high platform. A jet-black long arrow was inserted into Xiaohua's back, and that arrow's tail was swaying, while Xiaohua's body twitched a few times, and a large amount of blood flowed out. Then he stopped moving, and it seemed like he was dead. While rolling, Xiaohua was shocked to see that the black arrow that nailed Phoenix body Xiaohua to death was exactly the same as the black arrow that pierced dragon bloodline Xiaohua's heart. Devil Emperor. This is Devil Emperor. Damn Devil Emperor. Xiaohua gritted his teeth and looked at the cloaked figure on the second floor of the pavilion. Where did this bastard get this devil weapon? Damn it, we were unarmed in Star Moon Palace. His crossbow is probably 100 times more powerful than the soaring dragon scissors. Boom! Before Xiaohua rolled to the front of the palace door, the roar of murder sounded again. Xiaohua felt a sharp cold wind coming. He hurriedly shrank back and tried his best to throw himself to the side. Although his chest was in severe pain from the bone tempering Xiaohua's attack, escaping for his life was more important. How could he care about that? Chapter 41:12. PFFF. The powerful impact brushed past Xiaohua's Taoist robe and tore the Taoist robe under Xiaohua's armpit. The black arrow brushed past Xiaohua's skin and nailed itself to the high platform. Xiaohua was so frightened that he broke out in cold sweat. Xiaohua didn't dare to stay any longer. He leaped up and pounced towards the palace door. Boom! Another loud explosion. The demonic spirit Xiaohua screamed again. At this moment, Xiaohua had already fled to the palace door. He looked back and saw that the demonic spirit Xiaohua had been pierced by the Devil Emperor's arrow. Xiaohua's body was rolling on the high platform, and he didn't know whether he was dead or alive. The Devil Emperor on the second floor had actually disappeared. It was obvious that he was chasing after Xiaohua. Damn it, Xiaohua was really panicking. Is this Star Moon Palace going to be this Zhao's burial ground? It's only been an hour and all 4 of my clones have been killed by the Devil Emperor. Run. This was the only thought in Xiaohua's mind. He rushed through the palace door and fled in a certain direction. Xiaohua's sense of direction wasn't strong to begin with. Now that he was fleeing in panic, he was like a headless fly and gradually lost his way. Even so, Xiaohua had a strong feeling that the Devil Emperor was right behind him, and definitely not too far away. At this moment, Xiaohua was full of regret. He really shouldn't have coveted the treasures of the Star Moon Palace. He shouldn't have rashly entered the Star Moon Palace when he didn't have the ability to protect himself. It was even to the extent that the more Xiaohua fled, the clearer his heart became. The words of the phoenix body Xiaohua and the devil spirit Xiaohua had originally confused him, but at this moment, He understood that the Devil Emperor was definitely unable to kill him and his 4 clones, so the Devil Emperor had transformed into his appearance to lure the other 2 clones into his trap. Xiaohua's eyes lit up. He had arrived at a place that was different from the previous palaces. In the corner of the hall, there was a weapon rack. Most of the weapons on it were empty. Only at the very edge of the rack was a very ugly and shabby small sword. The small sword was only 3 inches long, and the hilt was wrapped in some rags. There was even some black hair on the edge. Xiaohua's gaze fell on the small sword, and a familiar feeling arose. Although Xiaohua didn't know why there was a flying sword here, he didn't have any other choice. He raised his hand and grabbed Xiaojian, and a cold feeling came from the hilt. That coldness caused Xiaohua to become even calmer. He looked to his left and quickly walked to a palace door. After pondering for a bit, he raised his hand and passed through with the flying sword. However, Xiaohua didn't directly enter the next palace. Instead, he stayed at the palace door and quietly waited with the flying sword in his hand. Sure enough, after a short while, footsteps could be heard coming from his palace. The Demon Emperor had chased after him. The Demon Emperor stopped by the weapon rack for a moment, and then rushed towards the palace door, where Xiaohua stopped. Xiaohua took a deep breath, and tightly clenched the flying sword in his hand, waiting for the Demon Emperor to come closer, and give him a fatal blow. Unfortunately, when the Demon Emperor arrived in front of the palace door, he actually slowed down and finally stopped. After a moment of silence, his footsteps quickly went away. Obviously, he was chasing after another palace. When the footsteps disappeared, Xiaohua let out a long sigh of relief. His palms were sweaty. In his heart, he didn't know whether to rejoice or regret. However, he didn't dare to stay for long. He hurriedly passed through the palace door and arrived at another palace. The words A27 were floating on the roof of this palace. There was nothing inside the palace, but Xiaohua's gaze fell on the 2 palace doors on one side of the palace. These 2 palace doors were different from all the palace doors Xiaohua had seen before. The palace doors flashed with 7-colored light, as if it was a passage. Xiaohua was overjoyed. He hurriedly rushed over, holding the flying sword in his hand, and cautiously entered the light. As the light flashed in front of him, Xiaohua frowned. Behind the light was not a passage, but a long corridor. On the side of the corridor near the Star Moon Palace, strange patterns were engraved on the stone walls. There were also some protruding spikes, as if they were protecting the patterns on the stone walls. On the other side of the corridor were some stone pillars, which also had spikes and patterns. These patterns flashed with a faint purple light. Xiaohua's gaze fell on the light, and he was shocked to discover that there were battles between heaven and man, yin and yang mating, mountains and rivers, a great battle between immortals and demons, and so on. Xiaohua didn't dare to look any longer, and hurriedly retracted his gaze. Sometimes he would look outside the corridor. Outside the corridor, there were streams of different colored countercurrents. These countercurrents were the same as what Xiaohua and his 4 doppelgangers had encountered before entering the Star Moon Palace. They were filled with a power that could kill everything. These countercurrents filled the surroundings of the Star Moon Palace, firmly protecting it. Only some faint brilliance above the corridor blocked these countercurrents. These are the steps that lead to the 2nd level of the Star Moon Palace. Xiaohua looked along the corridor again, and saw a flight of steps in the distance. He didn't understand, but he understood. So the demonic emperor used these steps to ascend to the 2nd level. Xiaohua was shocked. He suddenly thought of something and hurriedly turned around to escape to the other side of the corridor. However, at this moment, clang clang, a metallic sound and rapid footsteps came from the corridor of the 2nd level of the Star Moon Palace. Xiaohua's heart suddenly clenched. What's wrong? Is there anyone else in the Star Moon Palace? Xiaohua's heart clenched. A strange feeling came from his left side again. Xiaohua hurriedly pulled his head back without hesitation. Whoosh! Amidst the rumbling sound, a jet-black brilliance brushed past his head and fell into the countercurrent outside the corridor. That powerful crossbow was inferior to a small stone thrown into a lake. It didn't even cause a ripple and immediately disappeared without a trace. At this moment, how could Xiaohua still care if there was anyone on the 2nd level of the Star Moon Palace? With a sway of his body, He used the ethereal steps and rushed in another direction. Although Xiaohua's body was fast, the demonic emperor in the cloak didn't show any weakness. He took out a black arrow from his cloak and placed it on the crossbow. He then followed Xiaohua and chased after him. Xiaohua was truly frightened. As he fled, he pondered. Looking at the countercurrent around him, his mind was blank and he didn't know how to deal with it. Seeing that there was a turn in front of him, Xiaohua's eyes lit up. He increased his speed and rushed in that direction. However, just as Xiaohua was about to turn to the right, his body suddenly tilted strangely to the left. Boom! The sound of the crossbow rang out again. A jet black light shot into the stone wall on the right side of the Star Moon Palace like lightning. If Xiaohua hadn't dodged to the left, this arrow would have nailed him to the stone wall. Xiaohua snorted coldly after dodging the black arrow. His body didn't stop as he waved his arms with extreme agility. With a sway of his body, he rushed into the corner like flowing water and disappeared in an instant. In a situation where he didn't have any transcendence energy, even if he didn't have any light body technique, Xiaohua's agility still gave him a lot of advantages. This was also the main reason why Xiaohua was still alive when all 4 of his doppelgangers were killed by the demonic emperor. The demonic emperor in the cloak cursed angrily. He took out a black arrow from his cloak and chased after Xiaohua at the same time. He seemed to have practiced the major stellar fist, and his speed wasn't much worse than Xiaohua's. However, just as the demonic emperor in the cloak chased after Xiaohua to the corner, a sword light abruptly pierced out. The demonic emperor in the cloak was shocked. He didn't expect Xiaohua to be so daring. He didn't run away, but hid here and waited for him to catch up. However, at this moment, the demonic emperor in the cloak was caught off guard. He naturally raised his hand and wanted to block with his crossbow. Puff, seeing that the crossbow was about to hit the small sword, Xiaohua slightly lowered the small sword in his hand. The tip of the sword very strangely avoided the crossbow and pierced the wrist of the demonic emperor in the cloak with extreme precision. The demonic emperor in the cloak also seemed to be aware of it, but his movement was obviously not as fast as Xiaohua's. Dang! The demonic emperor in the cloak loosened his grip, and the crossbow unexpectedly fell to the ground. Without waiting for the demonic emperor to reach out his hand to catch it, Xiaohua kicked the crossbow away. It flew out of the corridor and fell into the countercurrent. You, the demonic emperor in the cloak was shocked. His voice was somewhat distorted through the cloak. It sounded very different from the voice of the demonic emperor in the previous battle. However, Xiaohua didn't care about this. He held the small sword in his hand and rushed forward, stabbing the demonic emperor in the chest at lightning speed. The demonic emperor in the midst of his shock also calmed his mind. He brandished his fists and legs to fight with Xiaohua. Oh. After a moment, Xiaohua was somewhat puzzled. He was very familiar with the demonic emperor's fists and legs. Wasn't it just the Big Dipper God fist? Damn it, Xiaohua cursed. Aren't you too shameless? You didn't use your own demon realm's great heavenly cycle star fist, and actually secretly learned this daddy's Big Dipper God fist. Although the demonic emperor in the cloak's fists and legs were similar to Xiaohua's swordsmanship was also very powerful. In just a short moment, the demonic emperor in the cloak was stabbed several times by Xiaohua. There was some blood oozing out from his arms and chest. Even the demonic emperor in the cloak was forced to the side of the corridor by Xiaohua. Seeing that the demonic emperor in the cloak was also injured, Xiaohua's heart calmed down. His swordsmanship was like a flower as he coldly asked, "Demonic emperor, if you honestly tell this Xiao how to get out of this Star Moon Palace, this Xiao might spare your life. Kill them. Kill them," the demonic emperor in the cloak muttered in a low voice, as if he was roaring. "Only by killing them all will we be able to escape, damn it." Xiaohua was enraged. The small sword in his hand suddenly stabbed at the demonic emperor in the chest as he shouted, "Even now, you still haven't forgotten to sow discord. Everyone in this Star Moon Palace has already been killed by you. Who else do you want to kill?" Pooh! The small sword stabbed into the demonic emperor in the chest. The demonic emperor in the cloak raised his hand and smashed Xiaohua's wrist. Feeling the pain, Xiaohua lifted his leg and gave a kick. Pung! The demonic emperor in the cloak was kicked out of the corridor by Xiaohua. The demonic emperor in the cloak screamed miserably. His chest, along with the small sword, fell into the reverse current and disappeared. Chapter 41:13. Damn it, I'm finally safe. Now that the enemy was gone, Xiaohua heaved a sigh of relief. A wave of pain came from all over his body. Although Xiaohua had the upper hand in the battle with the Cape Demon Emperor, he was also seriously injured. Xiaohua did not care when he was nervous, but now the pain came again. It was a feeling that he had not felt for a long time. However, just as Xiaohua relaxed for a moment, a wave of suspicion came over him again. That's not right. When I was fighting with the Demon Emperor, there was obviously some movement on the second level of the Star Moon Palace. Could it be that there are other people who have entered the Star Moon Palace? Could it be from the hidden immortal continent? Or Do Shanjun? Xiaohua took a deep breath and stood up. Just as he was about to go check it out, a voice came from outside the corridor again. Damn it, this is too dangerous. If not for my nimbleness, I'm afraid I would have fallen into the turbulence. Even I feel that nothing is wrong. How could something happen to you? Haha, now that we're here, it's our opportunity. There must be countless treasures in the Star Moon Palace. His Xiaohua sucked in a breath of cold air. A bone-chilling feeling emerged from the bottom of his heart. He couldn't help but run towards the end of the corridor. When he arrived at the location of a stone tablet, Xiaohua stuck his head out and saw his own silhouette. Phoenix Body Xiaohua, Dragon Vein Xiaohua, Bone Tempering Xiaohua, and Devil Spirit Xiaohua were all standing outside the doors of the Star Moon Palace, looking up at the palace. His other self was wearing a Taoist robe and had a blank expression. Dragon Bloodline Xiaohua was wearing a golden dragon robe, and the dragon horns on his head looked very ironic. Bone Tempering Xiaohua was almost naked and only wore a short shirt that covered his private parts. Phoenix Body Xiaohua was wearing colorful clothes, and there were wings between his arms. As for Demon Spirit Xiaohua, he was black and there were obvious demon patterns flashing on his face. At this moment, Phoenix Body Xiaohua's eyes were sharp and saw himself. He raised his hand and pointed. There's someone in the Bright Moon Palace? Xiaohua was shocked and quickly shrank back. He stared at the cornice of the palace in a daze, and a realization suddenly came to him. This is not the Star Moon Palace. This is the Demon Emperor's illusion. Perhaps, even if this was the Star Moon Palace, these later ones were definitely the Devil Emperor's illusions. Damn it, when did this Xiao fall into the Demon Emperor's illusion? How could he escape from this illusion? Did he escape through the palace gate? At that moment, outside the Star Moon Palace, the voices of Mo Ling Xiaohua and the others sounded again. It must be the Devil Emperor. Let's hurry up and catch up with him. After this little brother devours this Nephilim Emperor, this little brother will also be able to reach the realm of Nephilim Emperor. In the future, this little brother will be able to lend you a hand. Go. Io, what should we do now? What's wrong, fellow Taoist? What? You don't know? How would I know what fellow Taoist thinks? That's weird. Could it be because of this Star Moon Palace? What's so strange about it? Not good. Xiaohua suddenly came to his senses and said anxiously, if these were the illusions of the Demon Emperor, it would be fine, but if they were, damn it, why do I feel that there's something fishy about this? It's really too messy. Xiaohua thought and carefully poked his head out again. At that moment, outside the Star Moon Palace, there was no trace of Xiaohua and the others. They must have entered the Star Moon Palace. What exactly are they? Xiaohua gritted his teeth and ran to the palace gate at the side of the corridor. He rushed in, looked around, and searched for A43 in his memory. Xiaohua had just found A43 and walked to the entrance of the hall when a voice that made Xiaohua's hair stand on end rang out in his ears. That's right. Fellow Taoist, why do you look so pale? Fellow Taoists, I seem to feel a sense of familiarity. It seems like I have been here before. How is that possible? These palaces look exactly the same. How can fellow Taoists distinguish them? And how can fellow Taoists have been to the Star Moon Palace before? I don't know either. Maybe it's just a feeling? How is that possible? Xiaohua was a little dizzy. He could not help but raise his hand to scratch his head. At that moment, there was a clang sound. Xiaohua hurriedly lowered his head and realized that the jade slip that he had put in his pocket earlier had accidentally fallen to the ground because his Daoist robe had been torn. Who is it? It was the voice of the bone-honing Xiaohua. Everyone's footsteps rushed here. Xiaohua only hesitated for a moment, looking at the bloodstains all over his body and thinking about the injuries on his body. He did not dare to meet the other Xiaohua who he did not know was real or fake. He hurriedly turned and left the A43 palace, not caring about the jade slip that had fallen to the ground. Damn it, what's going on? Xiaohua's emotions were extremely irritable. Is the Xiaohua inside an illusion or real? If he's real, who am I? Could it be that the entire Star Moon Palace is an illusion? Or maybe the Star Moon Palace is real, and we are illusions? Xiaohua's thoughts had turned several times when he saw the second Xiaohua. Now he repeatedly thought about it, but the more he thought about it, the more confused he became. The Star Moon Palace seemed to be huge, and the palaces inside seemed to be endless. However, Xiaohua could only wander around a few hundred palaces, and could not really go deeper. Moreover, the Star Moon Palace was definitely not like what Do Shanjun and Zhu Qing had said. There were many opportunities inside. At that moment, in Xiaohua's eyes, the Star Moon Palace was a slaughterhouse. There were no opportunities to speak of. He had an impulse to escape the Star Moon Palace. However, Xiaohua also understood that if he wanted to leave the Star Moon Palace, he could only go through the palace door from before. In front of the palace door was turbulence. He could only rely on the huge rock to leave. The huge rock had disappeared after he and the second Xiaohua had entered. It was impossible for him to leave the Star Moon Palace. Xiaohua even suspected that the huge rock was an illusion. As long as he stepped on the huge rock, he would definitely fall into the turbulence. The demonic emperor would not give him this chance. How can I find the demonic emperor? How can I walk out of the Star Moon Palace? Xiaohua frowned as he shuttled through the palaces. Suddenly, the cloaked demonic emperor's words appeared in Xiaohua's mind. Kill them, kill them. Only by killing them will you be able to leave this place. Tisk. Xiaohua curled his lips and sneered. This demonic emperor. Even in death he did not forget to set a trap for me, as Xiaohua thought. He crashed into a palace like a headless fly. Just as he stepped into the palace, he immediately heard a familiar voice. This is too strange. What kind of statue is this? It looks like the bones of a celestial being? Wasn't this what Xiaohua with the phoenix body had said when he saw the statue in A71? Xiaohua raised his head and looked over. Sure enough, he saw the second Xiaohua with the phoenix body and the others surrounding the three-sided statue. The second Xiaohua was also about to raise his hand to take the spirit fruit. Not good. Xiaohua hurriedly turned his head and saw that the mirror on the stone wall was precisely his own reflection. Without thinking, he quickly retreated. Although the pain in his chest made him grimace, he did not dare to stay in this palace for a moment longer. Sure enough, just as Xiaohua retreated from the A71, the second Xiaohua's berating voice had already sounded. Strange. Xiaohua somewhat realized that something was wrong. Could it be that everything that I encountered earlier? Suddenly, goosebumps appeared all over Xiaohua's body. Could it be that before I came in, there was already another Xiaohua who came in? No, that's impossible. Soon after, Xiaohua denied it again. When I chased the demonic emperor to this place, I immediately saw the Star Moon Palace. There can't be another Xiaohua in front of me. What came after? Must be an illusion. Xiaohua rushed past several palaces and gradually calmed down. Seeing a seven-colored palace door in front of him, he knew that the corridor of the Star Moon Palace was outside. He breathed a sigh of relief and walked out. The corridor was as calm as before. The turbulence outside the Star Moon Palace was similarly chaotic. Streams of unknown countercurrents tangled together, producing sparks the size of a thumb. These sparks were like candlelight bursting. The power contained within immediately bombarded the turbulence, creating a huge whirlpool. Damn it, this turbulence is so powerful. I reckon that even the demonic emperor won't be able to survive after falling in. Xiaohua pinched his chin and sneered. At this moment, footsteps came from the corridor in the distance. Xiaohua was shocked and hurriedly raised his head. He saw the bone-honing Xiaohua appear at the end of the corridor, full of vigilance. Damn it, Xiaohua seemed to be used to vulgarities. He cursed and prepared to dodge. However, after running a few steps, Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat. He stopped and thought to himself. The bone-honing Xiaohua seemed to have been injured after leaving. Could it be that he was plotted against by the demonic emperor here? However, the demonic emperor has already been killed by me. He probably won't be in any trouble anymore, right? Fellow Taoist, you're quite fast? How did you get here so quickly? In such a short time, the bone-honing Xiaohua actually saw Xiaohua. He raised his hand and beckoned to Xiaohua. Xiaohua smiled helplessly and raised his hand. I was afraid that you would encounter the demonic emperor alone, so I chased after you. However, fellow Taoist, you know that I get lost easily. See, I actually came out from this palace door. Fortunately, I met you. Otherwise, as he spoke, the bone-honing Xiaohua was already close. He raised his head and looked at the stairs not far away. This seems to lead to the second level of the Star Moon Palace. I wonder what it's like there. Let's not go now. Xiaohua's gaze also fell on the stairs. He shook his head and said, the demonic emperor is in the Star Moon Palace. Let's go together. Wu, without waiting for Xiaohua to finish speaking, the bone-honing Xiaohua's fist appeared out of nowhere and smashed toward Xiaohua's chest. He still shouted, Demonic Emperor, do you think I can't recognize you? Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself? Even if you want to transform into Xiaohua, can't you show some professionalism? Is Xiaohua as bloodstained and bitter as you? Chapter 41:14. Xiaohua was used to being alarmed in Star Moon Palace, so he had long been on guard. Although he did not expect Hone Bone's Xiaohua's sneak attack, he still easily received it. He had already fought with Hone Bone's Xiaohua once before, so he was now quite familiar with it. With a push of his palm, he blocked Hone Bone's Xiaohua's fist. However, the huge impact still caused intense pain in Xiaohua's chest. Xiaohua had no choice but to dodge as he shouted, Fellow Hone Bone's Xiaohua, please listen to this poor Taoist's explanation. You are right. This poor Taoist is not Xiaohua in A71. Furthermore, that Xiaohua is still in A71. However, I am indeed Xiaohua, the Xiaohua who came in earlier. You are Ai's doppelganger, so don't worry, I will definitely not hurt you. What I want to say is that the bone-honing fellow Taoist who let you in earlier has been killed by the Demon Emperor. I don't know how he was killed, but there are two things that I can be sure of. First, the Demon Emperor attacked and seriously injured the bone-honing fellow Taoist near this corridor. You must be careful. Second, the Demon Emperor has already been killed by Ai, so you shouldn't be injured anymore. Haha, how can I believe the Demon Emperor's words? The bone-honing Xiaohua laughed. Aren't you trying to cover it up? Are you trying to make I lower my guard? Wu, as he spoke, the bone-honing Xiaohua's long leg kicked fiercely, smashing toward Xiaohua's head. Xiaohua knew that any explanation would be useless at this time, so he simply did not say anything. The bone-honing Xiaohua's attack was full of wind. Xiaohua raised his hands, wanting to block the attack, but there was a sharp pain in his sternum. He could only dodge and sweep his leg to the other leg of the bone-honing Xiaohua. Boom! The bone-honing Xiaohua's strength was not as good as Xiaohua's, so he was immediately knocked down by Xiaohua and fell towards the stone wall of the Star Moon Palace. Bone-honing fellow Taoist Xiaohua jumped up from the ground and said, I won't say much to you, just watch. Before Xiaohua could finish speaking, the bone-honing Xiaohua screamed. Xiaohua was shocked. When his gaze fell on Xiaohua's body, his face turned pale again. Although Xiaohua did not kill or even hurt bone-honing Xiaohua's heart, his kick had knocked bone-honing Xiaohua down. Bone-honing Xiaohua had landed on the protective spikes on the stone wall of the Star Moon Palace. Several spikes had pierced bone-honing Xiaohua's back, piercing deep into his heart and lungs. This Xiaohua was completely dumbfounded. He hurriedly rushed over and helped Xiaohua up. He anxiously said, I didn't want to hurt you, but you forced I too much. It would have been better if Xiaohua had not helped bone-honing Xiaohua up. As soon as he helped him up, blood gushed out. Not only did it soak bone-honing Xiaohua's body, but even Xiaohua's own Taoist robe was stained with more blood. Boom! Unfortunately, bone-honing Xiaohua did not listen to Xiaohua's explanation. He raised his hand and struck Xiaohua's neck again. Xiaohua had no choice but to let go of bone-honing Xiaohua. Bone-honing Xiaohua glared fiercely at Xiaohua as if he wanted to eat him. Xiaohua stood in place and watched bone-honing Xiaohua stagger away. He shouted, "Fellow Taoist, I am indeed not the Devil Emperor Sai. What's the use of explaining now?" Xiaohua narrowed his eyes and watched bone-honing Xiaohua disappear at the palace door. He then looked at the blood dripping in the corridor and thought to himself, all words are useless. It's better to think of a way to stop this illusion. After saying that, Xiaohua turned around and came to the front of the stairs. However, when he looked at the stairs leading to the second floor of Star Moon Palace, an indescribable sense of danger came from the second floor of Star Moon Palace. Xiaohua stood there hesitantly, and did not dare to go up for a long time. After all, he was empty-handed and was seriously injured. That's right, there seems to be a sword embryo inside the palace hall of A288. Xiaohua suddenly thought of the furnace inside the palace hall from before. He took a glance at the unpredictable steps, then hastily rushed into the palace hall. Looking for A288 is not particularly difficult. When Xiaohua rushed into the hall, he was stunned again. He saw that on top of the furnace, in addition to the sword embryo, there was also a crossbow. The crossbow was flickering with a dark luster just like the sword embryo. Next to the crossbow, there was also a small box with more than 10 small arrows inside. When did the crossbow come? Xiaohua was slightly stunned and hurriedly looked at the ground. However, he saw that on the ground the blood stain was still there. It did not seem to have changed. Xiaohua's gaze fell on the sword embryo and the crossbow. He almost did not hesitate and took down the crossbow and the small box. After all, the power of the crossbow was still fresh in his memory. Putting the small box in his arms, he took out a small arrow and put it into the crossbow. Xiaohua held the crossbow in his left hand, and walked out of the palace with his chest puffed out. However, when he passed through a few palaces, his heart was moved again. He thought to himself, if this is an illusion, then I should think about how to break the illusion. However, how should I do it? Killing these doppelgangers and even myself should be the most decisive method. However, what if I mess up what happened before? That's right. Previously, this Xiao encountered the bone-tempering Xiaohua in statue A71, and competed with him. If this Xiao were to go over now and disrupt their competition, then, wouldn't this illusion be broken? Thinking of this, Xiaohua hurriedly turned back. He abandoned the plan to go to the second floor of Star Moon Palace, and hurriedly rushed to A271. As expected, when Xiaohua chased down, the injured bone-honing Xiaohua had not yet entered A271. Seeing Xiaohua come over with the crossbow, although his body was already unable to balance, he was still frightened and raised his hand to guard. Xiaohua said indifferently, "Bone-honing fellow Taoist, don't worry. I will definitely not hurt you. What happened before was only a misunderstanding. Follow I in." Bone-honing Xiaohua slowly entered A271. At this time, the second Xiaohua was in a daze in front of the statue. Hearing the sound, he hurriedly turned his head. Seeing that it was the bone-honing Xiaohua, he hurriedly rushed over. However, he only took a few steps before his face turned pale with shock. He stood there, thinking that Xiaohua had already walked into the palace with the crossbow in his hand. You, the second Xiaohua looked at Xiaohua, then looked at the bone-honing Xiaohua. He was shocked at first, then he shouted, "You are the Devil Emperor! Damn Devil Emperor, you injured bone-honing fellow Taoist!" Xiaohua's heart turned cold. His eyes flashed with a fierce light. The crossbow in his left hand trembled slightly, almost shooting the black arrow. However, he still endured it and said word by word, "This poor Taoist is the real Xiaohua. I want to ask you whether you are the Devil Emperor or not. However, this Xiao can't tell whether this is an illusion or not, and also can't tell who you are. However, for safety's sake, this Xiao wants to use some methods to break this illusion. Therefore, I won't hide it from you. Although I really want to kill you, I am still willing to let you go." The second Xiaohua looked at the Xiaohua that looked exactly like him. His eyes flashed with a trace of confusion. However, facing the crossbow, facing a weapon that could kill him at any time, he nodded slightly. He calmly looked at Xiaohua, then looked at the bone-honing Xiaohua, and said, Okay. Although I know that I am the real Xiaohua, since fellow Taoist said so, then I will leave. However, bone-honing fellow Taoist is already injured. I ask fellow Taoist to let him rest here. This Xiao knows. You quickly leave. Xiaohua coldly swung the crossbow. He was extremely disgusted by the tone of this illusion that claimed to be Xiaohua. If it wasn't because he wanted to try it out, Xiaohua almost wanted to nail him to death here. After all, this illusion might be an incarnation of the Devil Emperor that might not have fallen. The second Xiaohua nodded towards the bone-honing Xiaohua and left from the other palace door without hesitation. Xiaohua said to the bone-honing Xiaohua, "Fellow Taoist, go rest beside the statue. After I break the illusion, we will leave together." The bone-honing Xiaohua nodded slightly. He staggered to the side of the statue and slowly sat down. However, in merely a moment, he lay on the ground again. Blood flowed from his body, and his eyes were still open. Just like the previous bone-honing Xiaohua, he was still staring at the statue on three sides. Xiaohua, who had already turned around and rushed out of the palace door, didn't notice this. He was still thinking about how to break the illusion. He held the crossbow and rushed towards the first palace door because he clearly knew that if nothing unexpected happened, the phoenix body Xiaohua and the devil spirit Xiaohua would definitely be killed by the cloaked devil emperor there. Sure enough, when Xiaohua rushed into the first palace door, the phoenix body Xiaohua and the devil spirit Xiaohua were squatting on the high platform, surrounding the already dead dragon vein Xiaohua. Before Xiaohua could get close, the devil spirit Xiaohua jumped up and kicked at Xiaohua. He said fiercely, "Motherfucker, you still dare to ask me what happened? Weren't you the one who killed fellow Taoist Long Mai? Weren't we also asked to come here by you? What are you pretending for?" Unfortunately, this time, Xiaohua didn't waste his breath on him. His figure flashed slightly, and he berated, "Scram to the side. That was the incarnation of the Devil Emperor just now. It has nothing to do with I." As he spoke, Xiaohua raised his eyes and stared at the pavilion on the second floor of the Star Moon Palace, waiting for the appearance of the cloaked Devil Emperor. What did you say? The Devil Emperor can still transform in this Star Moon Palace?" The devil spirit Xiaohua was somewhat dumbfounded. At this moment, a black shadow flashed on the second floor of the pavilion. Xiaohua shook his hand without hesitation. Boom, a rumbling sound was heard, and the black arrow on the crossbow shot out. The black arrow hit the black shadow's left arm. The black shadow shook violently, and the black arrow pierced through the black shadow's body and nailed it to the stone wall. However, in merely a moment, another crossbow escaped from the second floor of the pavilion. Xiaohua was frightened out of his wits and he hastily shouted, "Fellow Taoists, quickly dodge!" Boom, a huge tremor sounded, and a black light flashed by. It brushed past the face of the phoenix body Xiaohua and hit the high platform. The small arrow buzzed, and a trace of blood appeared on the face of the phoenix body Xiaohua. "Let's go." Xiaohua didn't hesitate at all. He jumped up from the ground and rushed out of the palace. The phoenix body Xiaohua and the devil spirit Xiaohua also dispelled their suspicions and hastily chased after him. Xiaohua brought the two of them around a few palaces, looked around and berated, "Did you see that? Just now it wasn't I who attacked, it was the Devil Emperor. Do you understand?" Chapter 41:15. Devil Spirit Xiaohua was quite puzzled and asked anxiously, "Big brother, since this is Star Moon Palace, no matter if it's Taoism, Confucian cultivators or demons, they can't transform. All of my divine abilities have disappeared without a trace. How is it possible that the Fiend Emperor can still materialize?" "Damn it," Xiaohua spat. "How would I know? If I knew about it, I would be able to transform too." Phoenix body Xiaohua stared at Xiaohua and shook his head slightly. "Although fellow Taoists saved us, I still can't believe you. Since you don't believe me, why did you come with I?" Xiaohua was a bit mad. However, he raised his hand and shook a finger a few times, saying, "Whatever I do, I don't need you to believe, and I don't need you to believe. Follow me to A71. Bone-honing Xiaohua is already seriously injured. Let's gather together to discuss." "No." Phoenix body Xiaohua shook his head. Fellow Taoist Xiaohua was born with divine bones. How could he be seriously injured? Don't lie to us. Xiaohua stomped his foot and threw the crossbow to Phoenix Body Xiaohua. Damn it, I gave you this crossbow, you still don't believe I. Phoenix Body Xiaohua took the crossbow and looked at Xiaohua retreating a few steps. He said with a smile that wasn't a smile. Fellow Taoist, you keep saying that you want I to trust you, but you don't seem to trust one either. Forget it. Of course, Xiaohua was alert in his heart. He could only shake his head and say, just wait here. Remember, you can't trust anyone. This poor Taoist will go and bring fellow Taoist tempered bones over from A7. After saying that, Xiaohua hurriedly left. Damn it, what's going on? Looking at Xiaohua's back, after a long while, Devil Spirit Xiaohua said in a low voice. Little brother's blood-dripping paradise is useless here. How can that Devil Emperor transform? Perhaps the Devil Emperor has magical powers that we don't know about. Phoenix Body Xiaohua glanced sideways at Devil Spirit Xiaohua, raised the crossbow in his hand, and said, now only this thing is the foundation of our survival. Just as they were talking, the sound of footsteps could be heard from the palace door in the distance. Phoenix Body Xiaohua raised his hand without hesitation. Boom, as the crossbow vibrated. A black light flashed past and nailed itself to the stone wall of Star Moon Palace. Ooh. Demon Spirit Xiaohua shouted loudly as he looked towards the palace door. Of course it's I. Following the voice, Xiaohua hurried over from the entrance of the palace. However, Xiaohua had already changed into a new set of clothes. This set of clothes was similar to a cloak, and a large patch of boots was seeping out from the left arm of the cloak. However, Phoenix Body Xiaohua and Devil Spirit Xiaohua had never seen the cloaked Devil Emperor on the second floor of the Star Moon Palace. Thus, they were able to tell that something was amiss. Devil Spirit Xiaohua quickly asked, Big brother, why did you change your clothes? This Xiao's Taoist robe is already damaged, so I naturally have to change it. The cloaked Xiaohua bitterly smiled as he looked at his body and said, it's a pity that there aren't any Taoist robes in the Star Moon Palace. I had no choice but to randomly find one to wear. The phoenix-bodied Xiaohua still didn't relax his vigilance. The crossbow in his hand was still pointed at the cloaked Xiaohua as he asked, where is fellow Taoist tempered bones? Why didn't you bring him along? Sigh, fellow Taoist tempered bones is already dead. The cloaked Xiaohua sighed. Devil Spirit Xiaohua exclaimed, how is that possible? Big brother tempered bones is a god. What method did the Devil Emperor use to kill him? There's no such thing as a god's bone. The cloaked Xiaohua sneered. In this Star Moon Palace, you and I are merely mortals. We can die at any time. Soon after, he pointed at the bow in Phoenix Body Xiaohua's hand and said, if it was any other time, which one of us would place this kind of weapon in our eyes? But now? Fellow Taoist pointed this weapon at I. My life is in fellow Taoist's hands. Could it be that you were the one who killed fellow Taoist tempered bones? Phoenix Body Xiaohua asked indifferently. It seems that, out of the 5 of us, only you were together with fellow Taoist tempered bones. All of you follow I. The cloaked Xiaohua sighed. I will tell you how fellow Taoist tempered bones died, so that all of you can be at ease. Phoenix Body Xiaohua looked at Devil Spirit Xiaohua. The two of them exchanged glances. Now that the matter had reached this point, there were only 3 people in Star Moon Palace. What other choice did these two have? Fellow Taoist Phoenix Body? Fellow Taoist Devil Spirit? Where are you waiting? Suddenly, another voice came from the distant palace. It was Xiaohua's voice. Ah. Why is there another big brother? Devil Spirit Xiaohua was shocked. His expression changed greatly, and he was about to answer. Shut up. The cloaked Xiaohua berated. Didn't I tell you? No one should believe that it is the Devil Emperor's transformation. As he spoke, the cloaked Xiaohua brought along the Phoenix Body Xiaohua and the Devil Spirit Xiaohua, who were filled with doubts through several halls, and walked into A28. However, Xiaohua's faint voice was still transmitted into their ears. Fellow Taoists, you two are already in a very dangerous situation. You must not trust anyone. Xiaohua quickly left the Phoenix Body Xiaohua and the Devil Spirit Xiaohua. They passed through several palaces with great familiarity and arrived at Palace Hall A31. However, not only did they not see the bone-tempering Xiaohua in the Palace Hall, even his corpse was nowhere to be seen. Damn it, what's going on? Xiaohua was somewhat bewildered. He lowered his head and looked at the bloodstains on the ground. Previously, I didn't pay attention to how the first Tempered Bones fellow Taoist disappeared. Now, even the second Tempered Bones fellow Taoist has disappeared. However, the bloodstains on the ground were still obvious. Xiaohua followed the bloodstains to the corridor outside Star Moon Palace. He saw the bloodstains disappear at the edge of the corridor. Needless to say, Tempered Bones Xiaohua's corpse was thrown into the turbulence outside Star Moon Palace. Could it be that it was done by the cloaked Devil Emperor who was injured by me? Xiaohua suddenly woke up. His heart jumped and he cried out in alarm. Oh no, that Phoenix Body fellow Taoist and Devil Spirit fellow Taoist are in danger. While speaking, Xiaohua hurriedly rushed back to the palace and went back the way he came. Boom, a faint sound of an arrow was heard. Xiaohua was even more anxious. He shouted loudly, Phoenix Body fellow Taoist? Devil Spirit fellow Taoist? Where are you waiting? Seeing that no one answered, Xiaohua was afraid that the two surviving clones would fall into the hands of the Devil Emperor. He shouted again, Two fellow Taoists, you are already in danger. Don't trust anyone. Unfortunately, when Xiaohua chased into the palace, there was no trace of Phoenix Body Xiaohua and Devil Spirit Xiaohua. Damn it, we still fell into the trap. Xiaohua was somewhat angry. He frowned and pondered. Suddenly his eyes lit up. A288. That's right. Why are there bloodstains there? Who could have written this? It must be the Devil Emperor. While thinking, Xiaohua hurriedly rushed out of the palace and rushed towards A288. At this time, Phoenix Body Xiaohua and Devil Spirit Xiaohua had already followed the cloaked Xiaohua into A288's palace. They saw a refining cauldron in front of them. The fire inside the cauldron was boiling. An object that looked like a sword embryo was quietly floating above the fire. Devil Spirit Xiaohua stared blankly and asked curiously, Big brother, what is this? Look at the sword embryo. This is fellow Taoist Tempered Bones. The cloaked Xiaohua's tone carried a hint of sorrow. He reached into his bosom, as if he wanted to take something out. The attention of the Devil Spirit Xiaohua and the Phoenix Xiaohua was drawn to the sword embryo. Whoosh! At this moment, the cloaked Xiaohua suddenly took out a small sword from his hand and stabbed towards the Devil Spirit Xiaohua in a flash. Facing the cloaked Xiaohua who was holding a small sword, the Devil Spirit Xiaohua didn't have any power to fight back. He stared dumbfoundedly at the small sword ruthlessly piercing his heart, his face filled with disbelief. Cloaked Xiaohua simply didn't look at Devil Spirit Xiaohua's life or death. His feet slid, following the momentum of the sword. He once again stabbed Phoenix Body Xiaohua's chest. Obviously, he had already calculated this beforehand. Although Phoenix Body Xiaohua was somewhat caught unprepared, he still waved his bow. The black arrow flew towards Cloaked Xiaohua's face. Cloaked Xiaohua's face carried a sneer. He waved his small sword. With a chi sound, it precisely hit the body of the black arrow. However, even though the cloaked Xiaohua's body was greatly shaken, the black arrow was still aimed at the arm of the cloaked Xiaohua at the bow of the ship. However, after the cloaked Xiaohua retreated, he still rushed forward. The Phoenix Body Xiaohua helplessly brandished his bow and began to fight with the cloaked Xiaohua. Devil Spirit Xiaohua was seriously injured in one blow. However, he still didn't die. His complexion was deathly pale. Just like Tempered Bones Xiaohua before, he staggered out of the palace door and staggered to escape to the other palaces. Behind him, Phoenix Body Xiaohua was no match for Cloaked Xiaohua who was holding a small sword. After more than 10 moves, Cloaked Xiaohua's small sword pierced Phoenix Body Xiaohua's body. Blood splattered. In just a moment, Phoenix Body Xiaohua was pierced by Cloaked Xiaohua until his body was full of bloody holes. He collapsed on the ground. He couldn't be more dead. Phoenix Body Xiaohua's eyes also didn't close. He had the same appearance as Tempered Bones Xiaohua. Fellow Devil Spirit. Hearing the sound of a bow and arrow coming from A28, Xiaohua was greatly alarmed and hurriedly quickened his pace. However, before he could approach, Devil Spirit Xiaohua's staggered figure flashed past one side of the palace. Xiaohua hurriedly turned and ran towards the palace door. However, although there were bloodstains on the ground in front of Xiaohua, Devil Spirit Xiaohua's figure was still nowhere to be seen. Even when Xiaohua chased to the stairs leading to the second floor of Star Moon Palace, he still didn't see Devil Spirit Xiaohua. Looking at the bloodstains on the stairs, Xiaohua was somewhat hesitant. After experiencing so many life and death situations, he still hadn't reached the second floor of Star Moon Palace. However, after thinking for a moment, Xiaohua clenched his teeth and stepped onto the stairs. Contrary to Xiaohua's expectations, the second floor of Star Moon Palace was silent. Looking at the style, it was similar to the first floor. There were corridors and some spikes and textures. Between the spikes, there were also some palace doors with colorful clouds floating in the air. Outside the corridors, there was even a raging turbulence. Xiaohua lowered his head to take a look. The bloodstains extended towards a corner of Star Moon Palace. He thought for a moment and carefully walked over. After confirming that Devil Spirit Xiaohua wasn't hiding at the corner, he turned around. Looking at the corner, there was a palace that was similarly covered by colorful clouds. The bloodstains led to the palace door. "Fellow Devil Spirit," Xiaohua whispered, "I have come. I definitely won't hurt you, big brother. Don't kill me." Devil Spirit Xiaohua's weak voice sounded from within the palace. Xiaohua sighed and said, "Don't worry. After all, you are Ai's clone. Now." Chapter 41:16. As Xiaohua spoke, he was on guard as he walked into the palace. However, when he walked into the palace, the latter half of his sentence was choked back. Another kind of chill rose from the bottom of his heart. He was somewhat dumbfounded as he stood in front of the palace door. Everything in front of him was beyond his imagination. He was really at a loss. This was a palace that was much bigger than before. The words "Why" floated on the roof of the palace, and on the bluestone floor of the palace, there were bloodstained corpses of demon spirit Xiaohua. Xiaohua did not have divine consciousness, so it was hard to count. However, with a sweep of the naked eye, there were probably tens of thousands of corpses. Moreover, under these corpses, there were many white bones. It was unknown how many years ago these white bones belonged to demon spirit Xiaohua who had died here. And these dead demon spirit Xiaohua were all staring at Xiaohua with their eyes wide open. At this moment, the only living demon spirit Xiaohua was crawling on the ground, trying his best to crawl towards a corner of the palace. He was trying his best to hide in a pile of demon spirit Xiaohua's corpses that had long stopped breathing. He was still shouting, big brother, you don't kill me. Big brother, you don't kill me." This Xiaohua looked at the countless demon spirit Xiaohua's corpses and felt a little dizzy. After a moment he opened his mouth and said, "Don't be afraid, I won't kill you unfortunately." When Xiaohua finished speaking, demon spirit Xiaohua had already stopped breathing. His eyes were like the other demon spirit Xiaohua's corpses, staring at Xiaohua with horror in his eyes. Damn it. What is going on? Xiaohua was so weak that he could not breathe. He slowly walked out of the palace, his mind blank. Why did so many demon spirit friends die? Could it be I'm not the first to enter Star Moon Palace? Thinking of this, Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat. He quickly walked to the side of the corridor and leaned over to look at Star Moon Palace's door. He wanted to see if there was a third Xiaohua and his doppelganger. However, wherever Xiaohua looked, his body was nailed to the spot like a clay statue. His face turned pale again as he looked at the first level of Xingyue Palace in disbelief. Over there, two figures were fighting. One of them was wearing a cloak, the same one he had encountered previously. The other held a small sword in his hand. It was the second Xiaohua. This Xiaohua stared at the corpse for a moment and discovered something strange. He remembered that he did not assassinate the cloaked devil emperor. Instead, he forced the cloaked devil emperor into the turbulence. However, beneath him, the second Xiaohua held a small sword and forced the cloaked devil emperor into the corridor. Then the second Xiaohua stabbed the cloaked devil emperor's chest several times in succession and killed him. However, when the second Xiaohua killed the cloaked devil emperor and removed the cloak, not to mention the second Xiaohua, even Xiaohua himself was stunned once again. That was because Xiaohua's corpse was beneath the cloak. The two Xiaohus, one standing on the first level of Xingyue Palace, and the other standing on the second level of Xingyue Palace, were both dumbfounded when they saw the corpse covered in wounds. Damn it, I always thought that the cloak belonged to the Devil Emperor. The previous illusions were also created by the Devil Emperor. Now it seems that I was wrong. I was extremely wrong. All of these Xiaohus are Xiaohus. The same thought rose in the minds of the two Xiaohus at the same time. However, before Xiaohua could think any further, the second Xiaohua raised his hand and took the cloaked corpse in his hand. He gently placed it on the side of the corridor, and paused for a moment. Then he released his hand and the corpse fell into the turbulence and disappeared. The moment the cloaked Xiaohua's corpse fell into the turbulence, something that made Xiaohua's body tremble violently happened again. A voice that Xiaohua was extremely familiar with drifted over again. Damn it, this is too dangerous. If it weren't for my nimbleness, I'm afraid I would have fallen into the turbulence. Even I felt that nothing was wrong. How could something happen to you, fellow Taoist? Haha, now that we're here, it's our opportunity. There must be countless treasures in the Star Moon Palace. The third Xiaohua, the Phoenix Body Xiaohua, the Dragon Bloodline Xiaohua, the Bone Tempering Xiaohua, and the Demon Spirit Xiaohua, stood outside the door of the Star Moon Palace and looked up at the Star Moon Palace. When he looked at the second Xiaohua, he seemed to have also heard the voice. He paused at the side of the corridor and ran towards the other end. When he reached a stone tablet, he stuck his head out again. When he saw the demon spirit Xiaohua, he hastily shrank back and stared at the cornice of the palace in a daze. At this moment, outside the Star Moon Palace, the voices of the demon spirit Xiaohua and the others sounded again. It must be the Devil Emperor. Let's hurry up and catch up with him. After this little brother devours this Nephilim Emperor, this little brother will also be able to reach the realm of Nephilim Emperor. In the future, this little brother will be able to lend you a hand. Let's go. Io, what should we do? What's wrong, fellow Taoist? What? You don't know? How would I know what fellow Taoist is thinking? This is a little strange. Could it be because of the Star Moon Palace? What's strange about it? As the third Xiaohua led the four clones into the Star Moon Palace, the second Xiaohua carefully stuck his head out again. After looking for a moment, he hurriedly turned around and ran into the Star Moon Palace. Damn it, Xiaohua, who was standing at a high place, saw this strange scene and immediately understood. Needless to say, this is not the Star Moon Palace. This is the Devil Emperor's illusion. Or even if this is the Star Moon Palace, these later ones must be the Devil Emperor's illusion. Damn it, when did I fall into the Devil Emperor's illusion? How can I escape from this illusion? Do I escape through the palace door? At this moment, the scene of Xiaohua attacking the cloaked Devil Emperor, attacking the cloaked Xiaohua appeared in Xiaohua's mind again. The cloaked Xiaohua's words also rang in his ears. Kill them, kill them. Only by killing them can we escape. I understand. Xiaohua looked at the empty first floor of the Star Moon Palace and narrowed his eyes. He said word by word. Only by killing all the people who came after I, the Bone Hone Xiaohua, the Dragon Bloodline Xiaohua, the Phoenix Body Xiaohua and the Devil Spirit Xiaohua, will those stones be able to appear. Only then will the other group of people outside the Star Moon Palace be able to enter. I'm afraid. Only by doing this can I escape from the Star Moon Palace. Of course, if it's like the cloaked Xiaohua who escaped into the turbulence alive, he should be able to escape from the turbulence as well. The problem is, if I were to jump out now, it would be different from if I were to be forced down in the past. The time and place would be different. If I were to be forced down, I might be able to escape. But if I were to jump down now, I might not be able to escape. Damn it. No matter what, no matter how I think about it, the only thing I need to do now is to kill the 5 people who just entered the Star Moon Palace. This is something that must be done. Moreover, now that things have come to this, even if I don't take action, those 2 Xiaohus will definitely take action. I am now seriously injured. How can I be their match? Rather than being killed by them, I'd rather I kill them. Thinking of this, Xiaohua's heart gradually hardened. After thinking for a moment, he quickly ran up the stairs from the corridor on the 2nd floor. Hearing the sound of his own footsteps, Xiaohua suddenly recalled that after he killed the cloaked Xiaohua, he thought that there was no one else in the Star Moon Palace. However, Weren't the footsteps above his head the same as the sound of his running? Wasn't it the same as the previous one who ran? He had tried so hard to break out of the illusion, but in the end, he still fell into the illusion. Xiaohua thought, and was about to walk down the stairs when he heard a familiar voice. It was the second Xiaohua talking to the third Xiaohua who had honed his bones. Fellow Taoist, you're quite fast, aren't you? How did you get here so quickly? Of course, I was afraid that you would encounter the Devil Emperor alone, so I specially chased after you. However, fellow Taoist, you also know that I get lost easily. See, I actually came out from this palace door. Fortunately, I met you, otherwise it's better not to go now. The Devil Emperor is in the Star Moon Palace. Let's go together. While they were talking, the sound of punches and kicks came from below. The voice of the bone-honing Xiaohua was even more obvious. Devil Emperor, do you think I can't recognize you? Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself? Even if you want to transform into Xiaohua, can't you show some professionalism? Do you think Xiaohua has such a bloodstained, bitter, and vengeful appearance? Xiaohua stood on the stairs on the second floor and listened coldly, because he knew that the second Xiaohua would kill the bone-honing Xiaohua by accident. Sure enough, with a boom, the second Xiaohua shouted, "Fellow Taoist tempered bones, this is an illusion. This poor Taoist has just killed a person who looks exactly like this poor Taoist, and is wearing a cloak. This poor Taoist won't say much to you, just watch." Before the second Xiaohua could finish speaking, the third Xiaohua who had honed his bones screamed, This. Fellow Taoist, I am indeed not the Devil Emperor. The second Xiaohua tried his best to explain, but the third Xiaohua who had honed his bones clearly did not listen. Then, there was a series of staggering footsteps that gradually faded away. The first floor of the Star Moon Palace was deathly silent, but the second floor Xiaohua's heart also clenched. He thought that he knew that the second Xiaohua must be standing on the stairs leading to the second floor and pondering, just like what he did before. However, he could not guarantee that the second Xiaohua would give up like him. After all, the second Xiaohua killed the cloaked Xiaohua. Whether it was what he said to the third Xiaohua or what he did, it was not the same as what he did. Fortunately, after a moment, Xiaohua heard the sound of the second Xiaohua leaving quickly. Xiaohua knew that the second Xiaohua went to A28 to look for crossbows. He hurriedly came down from the second floor and rushed into the first floor of the Star Moon Palace. However, after passing by several halls, Xiaohua encountered the staggering bone-honing Xiaohua. The bone-honing Xiaohua immediately clenched his fists and looked at Xiaohua with extreme caution. Xiaohua coldly glanced at him and hurriedly walked past him, ignoring him. The bone-honing Xiaohua looked at Xiaohua's back and fear appeared in his eyes. Chapter 41:17. Xiaohua quickly rushed to the A71 hall. When he entered the hall, he didn't forget to look at the stone wall. Sure enough, there was another faint bloodstain there, and it smelled a little bloody. Oh, fellow Taoist, why did you turn back? Fellow Taoist Longmai didn't come back with you? At this time in the A71 hall, Phoenix Body Xiaohua and Devil Spirit Xiaohua were each holding a spirit fruit and tasting it with interest. Hearing footsteps, they were very surprised to see Xiaohua walk in. Phoenix Body Xiaohua asked with a smile, "Big brother? Why do you have injuries on your body?" Xiaohua asked even more. Xiaohua's gaze was extremely complicated as he looked at the two people. He couldn't bear it in his heart. After all, it was his clone. However, after a few breaths, Xiaohua said faintly, "Fellow Taoist Longmai went to A31 first. You guys go and meet him now." After speaking, Xiaohua pointed to the hall door leading to A31, and he turned and walked to another hall door. Fellow Taoist Phoenix Body Xiaohua said curiously, "We will go now. However, fellow Taoist, are you not going to A31? "I naturally have to go," Xiaohua replied without turning his head. However, before going, this Xiao wants to find something. "Okay then, big brother, go quickly and come back quickly. We will wait for big brother in A31 hall." Devil Spirit Xiaohua said with a smile, and pulled Phoenix Body Xiaohua in the direction Xiaohua pointed. They didn't know that they were now walking on a road of no return. Xiaohua walked out of the hall, and quickly came to A28. Sure enough, the second Xiaohua was no longer here. Moreover, there was a crossbow and a small box in the cauldron. Especially next to the cauldron, Phoenix Body Xiaohua's corpse was full of bloody holes lying on the ground. In front of him, there were 5 big words written in blood. Murderer's original body Xiaohua. Xiaohua raised his hand and took the crossbow and the small box. He squatted down expressionlessly and erased the 5 words written by Phoenix Body Xiaohua. He dipped his hand in the blood on the ground and wrote, "Go to A31." Then, when he got up, he saw a neatly folded cloak next to the cauldron. Xiaohua didn't hesitate to pick up the cloak and put it on. Then he raised his hand and picked up Phoenix Body Xiaohua's corpse and quickly left A28. Immediately after, Xiaohua walked back to A71. At this time, the bone-honing Xiaohua had already fallen dead beside the 3-faced statue. Xiaohua's other hand similarly picked up his corpse and walked to the corridor outside the eaves of the Star Moon Palace. When Xiaohua casually flung his hand, the bone-honing Xiaohua and Phoenix Body Xiaohua's corpses crashed into the turbulence outside the Star Moon Palace and instantly disappeared. After doing this, Xiaohua turned around and quickly rushed to the 2nd floor. He casually found a hall door and entered. Then, according to the same pattern as the 1st floor of the Star Moon Palace, he easily found the hall B31. When Xiaohua entered the hall door, he was welcomed by a small pavilion. Xiaohua leaned forward and saw Dragon Vein Xiaohua standing on the high platform of A31. He also happened to see Xiaohua with a glance. "Fellow." Dragon Vein Xiaohua was a little surprised and shouted, "Didn't you go to A31?" Unfortunately, before Dragon Vein Xiaohua finished speaking, Xiaohua raised his hand. Boom! A black arrow shot out and nailed Dragon Vein Xiaohua to the high platform. A Dragon Vein Xiaohua screamed. Outside the hall, Phoenix Body Xiaohua and Devil Spirit Xiaohua exclaimed, "Fellow Dragon Vein, what's going on?" Xiaohua hurriedly squatted down and used his cloak to cover his face. At this time, he heard Dragon Vein Xiaohua's weak voice again. It's Xiaohua." The main body killed Dragon Vein Xiaohua hadn't finished speaking when a burst of hurried footsteps came from outside the hall again. Needless to say, this was the 3rd Xiaohua walking in. Sure enough, the 3rd Xiaohua's extremely innocent voice sounded out. "Fellow Taoist Phoenix Physique, what's going on? Why are you all here? Damn it, you're still asking us what happened. Weren't you the one who killed fellow Dragon Vein? Weren't we also asked to come here by you? What are you pretending for?" I just heard a rumbling sound and hurried over from A31. How could I kill fellow Dragon Vein? What's more, where is this place? I have never been here before. You keep pretending. You said you wanted I and fellow Taoist Devil Spirit to come to A31. Isn't this A31? Hearing this, Xiaohua sneered and slowly stood up. He extended his crossbow quickly dodge. The 3rd Xiaohua shouted. His figure hurriedly rolled on the ground and rolled towards the hall door above the high platform. As for Xiaohua's crossbow, with 2 loud boom sounds, Xiaohua's Phoenix Body Xiaohua and Devil Spirit Xiaohua were killed in A31's palace hall. Soon after, Xiaohua raised his hand again. Boom! A black arrow chased after the 3rd Xiaohua and nailed into the stone wall. Seeing the 3rd Xiaohua disappear, Xiaohua lifted his leg and jumped down from the 2nd floor of the pavilion and chased after it. However, after looking for several hall doors, he finally walked to a hall door and looked at it with a cold smile. He clearly remembered that he should be hiding inside this hall door, so he didn't hesitate to raise his hand. Boom! The crossbow vibrated and the black arrow rushed into the hall door. However, the miserable scream he expected didn't come. Xiaohua was greatly alarmed and hurriedly rushed into the hall. However, he saw that his black arrow fell on the bluestone, but there was no figure of the 3rd Xiaohua inside this hall. Damn it! How could Xiaohua not know that he had already missed the real hall door where the 3rd Xiaohua was hiding? He hurriedly turned around to search. Unfortunately, after searching for a while, he did not find anything. Xiaohua simply rushed towards the corridor of the Star Moon Palace. Sure enough, just as he walked out of the door of the palace with the rainbow clouds, he saw the 3rd Xiaohua standing at the steps. Xiaohua did not hesitate to raise his hand. Whoosh! The black arrow in the crossbow shot towards the 3rd Xiaohua. Unfortunately, at the same time that Xiaohua raised his hand, the 3rd Xiaohua seemed to be on guard. He suddenly lowered his head and the black brilliance of the black arrow brushed past the third Xiaohua's head. It fell into the countercurrent outside the corridor, and immediately disappeared without a trace. The third Xiaohua hurriedly fled into the distance. Xiaohua took out a black arrow from his cloak and placed it on the crossbow. He followed the third Xiaohua and chased after him. Seeing that there was a turn in front of him, Xiaohua was delighted. Boom! The sound of the crossbow rang out again. A black light shot towards the left side of the Star Moon Palace like lightning, because Xiaohua remembered that he had dodged to the left. However, the strange thing was that the third Xiaohua didn't dodge to the left. Instead, he rushed to the right and disappeared. Damn it! Xiaohua saw that the third Xiaohua didn't stop at the turn. He knew that what he had encountered was different from what he had done before. He cursed and chased after him. However, just as Xiaohua reached the turn, a light whoosh sound rang out and a sword light suddenly pierced towards him. Xiaohua turned pale with fright. He had guessed the process, but he hadn't guessed the result. Although the third Xiaohua had fled to the right, he still hit at the turn. Seeing that his crossbow was knocked away by the third Xiaohua's small sword, Xiaohua helplessly waved his fist and fought with the third Xiaohua. The result was needless to say. The third Xiaohua was also Xiaohua. He held a small sword in his hand. No matter if it was the first Xiaohua or the third Xiaohua, no one could win against them. In the end, Xiaohua was forced to the side of the corridor by the third Xiaohua. However, the third Xiaohua's swordsmanship was like a flower. He asked coldly, "Demon Emperor, if you tell me honestly how to get out of this Xingyue palace, I might spare your life." Kill them. Kill them. Xiaohua knew that he had no other way out. He could only shout in a low voice, as if he was roaring. Only by killing them all will I be able to escape, damn it. The third Xiaohua was also enraged. The small sword in his hand suddenly pierced towards Xiaohua's chest. He shouted, "Even at this point, you still haven't forgotten to sow discord. Everyone in this Xingyue palace has been killed by you. Who else do you want to kill?" Pooh! The small sword pierced Xiaohua's chest. That Xiaohua raised his hand and smashed the wrist of the third Xiaohua. The third Xiaohua raised his leg in pain and kicked. Peng Xiaohua was kicked out of the corridor by the third Xiaohua. Xiaohua screamed in pain. His chest fell into the turbulence with the small sword in it. Xiaohua's body floated in the turbulence. After an unknown period of time, Xiaohua's figure emerged from the turbulence. Xiaohua was a little confused. He turned his head and looked around. It was also in this moment that an extremely dim green light flashed between Xiaohua's eyebrows. It instantly disappeared. Xiaohua muttered to himself, Where is this?" It was also at this moment that a voice that Xiaohua was extremely familiar with, one that seemed to be in his dreams, rang out. "Husband, go ahead and fly towards the depths of QC. You are no match for them. However, if you head east, you will definitely find a way out." Ah! Xiaohua was shocked. He hurriedly looked towards the direction of the voice. He saw the unforgettable Shui flying out from a bamboo forest. Her face was snow-white. She stared at Xiaohua and said word by word. Her eyes were filled with attachment, reluctance and endless affection. Hihi, a foundation establishment girl perfected Dewey suddenly appeared not far behind Xiaohua and laughed arrogantly. "What if I join in?" Another voice that Xiaohua was extremely familiar with strangely rang out. Ah! Xiaohua was completely dumbfounded. "Master! You! Why are you here?" Of course, at the edge of the bamboo forest opposite Shui, a white-haired, wrinkled face helplessly revealed himself. A pair of pitch-black eyes were filled with anger. Chapter 41:18. A teacher for a day, a father for life. Helpless didn't even look at Xiaohua. He only faced the two nascent soul cultivators and said indifferently, "Although I didn't teach you anything, but I see you as my disciple. You will always be my disciple." "Are you all sick?" Kind child slapped his hand, and the pressure above his head surged, instantly making helpless unable to move. "My husband, farewell." Shui glanced at Xiaohua, and her eyes turned red. Then a layer of blood mist appeared in her body. With a loud boom, the blood mist suddenly exploded and covered Reverend Dui. "Wife!" Xiaohua looked at this heart-wrenching scene, and raised his right hand slightly. Seeing the blood mist gushing out, He cried out sorrowfully, boom. At this moment, beside kind child, helpless also self-exploded, turning into a blood mist of the same shape and covering kind child. Master Xiaohua's heart twitched again. He looked in the direction of the kuei he see in the distance, and rushed over without hesitation. Wu Xiaohua's body flashed with lightning as he rushed forward crazily. There seemed to be an invisible barrier in the air in front of him. Xiaohua fell into it, and created thousands of fireflies and sparks, illuminating the air. In the light, the invisible barrier was torn apart. Inside the invisible barrier, a majestic palace slowly appeared. As Xiaohua's figure swayed, Xiaohua's figure strangely shattered and reformed, and a brand new Xiaohua appeared in the air. In the midst of shattering and reforming, Dragon Vein Xiaohua, Bone Tempering Xiaohua, Phoenix Body Xiaohua, and Devil Spirit Xiaohua slowly appeared behind him. Xiaohua shook his head, trying his best to get rid of the heavy feeling. However, the more he shook his head, the more confused his mind became. Xiaohua could only raise his head. When he saw everything in front of him, he couldn't help but exclaim, "Is this the Star Moon Palace?" The majestic palace in the invisible barrier emitted a faint 9-colored light as it stood there. The 3 big words above the palace door could be seen clearly. It said Star Moon Palace. How is this possible? Xiaohua was dumbfounded. Didn't Do Shanjun say that the Star Moon Palace is somewhere in the hidden immortal continent? How can it be in the space of the ruins? Fellow Taoist, have you forgotten? At this moment, another voice rang out from behind Xiaohua. Zhu Qing from Zhaixing Lu said very clearly that the Star Moon Palace is a relic left behind by the upper realm in the 3 continents. The upper realm he spoke of. Is it not the ruins here? Ah. Xiaohua was shocked. He suddenly turned his head and saw Xiaohua of the Dragon Vein standing behind him. Beside Dragon Vein Xiaohua, Bone Tempering Xiaohua, Phoenix Body Xiaohua, and Devil Spirit Xiaohua were also standing with smiles on their faces. You all, Xiaohua was bewildered. He pointed at the 4 clones, not knowing what to say. The Devil Spirit Xiaohua also smiled and said, "Brothers, let's speed up." When the Devil Emperor flew to this place, he actually disappeared without a trace. He must have discovered the Star Moon Palace hidden in the void. He must be hiding in the Star Moon Palace. Let's hurry over and kill him, so that we can take revenge for injuring us earlier. When Xiaohua brought his 4 doppelgangers and flew towards the so-called Star Moon Palace at an extremely fast speed, a strange black shadow appeared outside the invisible barrier. This black shadow was extremely faint, as if it had no form or substance. This black shadow looked at Xiaohua's fleeing figure, and opened its mouth. A golden light mixed with blood-red light flew out from the invisible barrier, and landed in the black shadow. That black shadow trembled slightly and groaned softly, as if it was enjoying it very much. However, after a moment, the black shadow made a strange noise again. Damn it! This Xiaohua. What kind of reincarnation is he? This is about to be broken down by a tribulation. Why hasn't his physical body been completely shattered yet? Why can the 4 clones be broken down every time we pass through an illusion? When exactly will I be able to completely devour his essence? I can't possibly let him endlessly kill my clones here, right? However, it only lasted for a short while before the voice burst into laughter again. Luckily, I had nothing to do. So I went down to the lower realm to take a stroll, and happened to meet such a human with such abundant energy essence. Luckily, this human was greedy for the cloning technique, and didn't focus on the immemorial Tao. That's why I was able to take advantage of him. This human's essence is so strange. Just by relying on this human's essence, I should be able to obtain the devil fruit of the supreme heavenly demon, right? Haha, so what if he's the reincarnation of a heavenly god? Falling into the hands of a heavenly demon king like me. He's just a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. A tribulation of tempering and killing is enough to crush a true heavenly god's essence. I just need to wait for a moment. When this human kills a few more of my clones and sends his essence into the illusion, I should be able to obtain the devil fruit, right? The closer we get to the end, the more we can't be careless. This human's luck is extremely strong. I definitely can't let him make a comeback. However, in this illusion, the sky is the universe and the earth is the earth. The so-called yin and yang and the 5 elements are the principles. All the illusions in the illusion are set up according to his thoughts. Everything is the same as what he thinks. What's special is that there's no divine ability of the supreme heavenly demon in the illusion at all. It's just a simple karmic cycle. No heavenly god can sense anything strange, so how can a little human cultivator notice it? I don't believe that a little human like him can escape from my hands. At this point, ripples appeared in the space behind the black shadow. The black shadow laughed and said, "Treasure's essence, come quickly. When the last number of calamities arrives, this lord will be able to bear the devil fruit." Haha, I don't know which heavenly god set this up. In the end, it actually benefited me. Sure enough, with a flash of a black shadow, the scenery of the entire space was completely void. And with the appearance of Xiaohua's figure from the ripples, the bamboo forest, the pursuit, and the story of Shuexia's helplessness played out once again. Xiaohua was still grief-stricken as he rushed into a new cycle of karma. Gradually, the whole space began to change. Black demonic patterns began to appear. These demonic patterns were different from the ones around the Devil Emperor. They were more ethereal, and each demonic pattern contained Sanskrit sounds. As the demonic patterns gathered toward the black shadow, indescribable small worlds appeared and disappeared rapidly in the light and shadow. The whole space was shrouded in a kind of solemnity, like the suffocation before the thunder tribulation. The black shadow was no longer as empty as before. Gradually, there was a sense of heaviness. The heaviness was so great that it was like everything in the world was condensed in the void. In the solemn atmosphere, there were tiny, almost imperceptible waves, like innumerable small insects appearing inexplicably in the whole space. The light and shadow that were still there were completely annihilated by the waves. An indescribable darkness gradually shrouded the space, as if a supreme devil kingdom had silently descended. Haha, in the silent darkness, the black shadow suddenly laughed strangely. After billions of years of waiting, I finally got everything I wanted. As soon as the laughter stopped, another weak ripple appeared from the side of the space. Xiaohua's abnormally thin figure appeared. At the same time, everything that was engraved in Xiaohua's bones and heart appeared again. Everything was exactly the same as before. The profound qi in the illusion gradually flew out. As long as it fell into the black shadow's body, Xiaohua's profound qi would be absorbed by the black shadow, and the entire space would change again. At this moment, the entire space was vibrating, as if the black shadow couldn't suppress its joy. Husband, just fly to the depths of the Kuai He Sea. You are not their opponent, but if you fly to the east, you will find a way out. Shuexiu was still that determined. Her face was snow-white, and her eyes gazed at Xiaohua. She said word by word. Her eyes were filled with attachment, reluctance, and endless affection. At this moment, if the previous cycle continued, it would definitely appear again and explode again. But at this moment, a green light lingered between Xiaohua's eyebrows. Thousands of soul strands flew out. Xiaohua's eyes immediately brightened. However, the space was already abnormally dark. The soul strands flew out like moths to a flame. The strands broke, and the demonic patterns surged wildly, wanting to extinguish the only hope in this space. Xiaohua's voice was very vague and slow, but he said with extreme determination, "I know that you are just an illusion. I also know that you can't hear what I am saying. In fact, when I fell into the illusion for the first time, I already knew what was happening in front of me. However, I was only clear-headed for a moment. The moment I rushed out of the illusion of the Star Moon Palace, I knew what I was doing, and I knew what I needed to do. Previously, I used this moment of freedom to accumulate soul cultivation divine arts, preparing to break this illusion. However, after a few times, I knew that even if I accumulated more soul cultivation secret arts, I would not be able to break out of this illusion, because this illusion is the tribulation of my primordial spirit, a battle between my primordial spirits. With my own strength, I am powerless to break out of it. However, just as I gave up, I saw you. Although you are an illusion, you are really standing in front of me. When I saw you, I could not help but think of everything that happened before. When I saw you, all my efforts, all my hardships, all my hopes turned to nothing. My only goal is to be able to hold your hand again and tell you my love. Now I have finally accumulated an aeon of tribulation. An aeon of tribulation is not enough to support me to escape from the illusion. However, this aeon of tribulation is enough for me to say these words to you. Enough for me to hold your hand. As he spoke, Xiaohua reached out his right hand to hold the right hand of the illusion of Shui. He muttered again, "There is no fate, no tribulation, no love, no hatred. My love, you are the netherworld lotus of the yellow springs. I am the guardian stone of the blood sea. I am willing to wait for you for billions of years. I am willing to accompany you for eternity. However, that time is too long, that loneliness is too cold. For your life, for your survival. I am not willing to accompany you until the end of time. I am not willing to accompany you for eternity. I am not willing to be the venerable one in the heavens. I am not willing to be the king of hell. For this moment, I am willing to give up everything. I only want to gently hold your hand and tell you, I love you." Chapter 41:19. Xiaohua said in a daze. His originally illusory figure gradually dissipated, but he still persisted in reaching out his right hand to grab the illusory Shue's hand, even though he knew in his heart that in this lifetime, he would never be able to hold that warm and smooth hand again. Haha, the entire space was filled with a strange laughter that sounded like a night owl. It seemed to be extremely disdainful of human emotions like Xiaohua. However, as soon as the laughter ended, Xiaohua's surprised voice sounded. His originally blurry consciousness was suddenly maintained at that place. Furthermore, he could clearly feel that there was a kind of warmth and trembling coming from his hand. Xiaohua lowered his head in disbelief. He saw that on his right hand, there was a broken heart-shaped symbol that was emitting a holy light in the pitch-black devil nation. Furthermore, as the light was projected onto Shue's illusion, the same spot where Xiaohua was holding Shue's right hand also emitted a holy light. The two rays of light flickered as if they were breathing, but also as if they were talking to each other. As the light flickered, a beautiful woman's figure appeared in Shue's illusion. The woman's face was filled with surprise and joy. Although the woman's appearance couldn't be seen, she was holding Shue's right hand with the same strength as Xiaohua's. Their fingers were interlocked. "My love," Xiaohua moaned. He couldn't help but shout, "You're finally here!" Boom! As soon as Xiaohua's voice fell, the imprints on their right hands trembled at the same time. They flew into the air and landed between the two of them. With a boom, they transformed into a complete heart-shaped symbol. Swoosh! There was another crisp sound of a silver bottle shattering. From above the two of them, a pillar of moonlight pierced through the air and shone on the heart-shaped symbol. Then the entire space rumbled like water. The moonlight was like water. In just a moment, the entire pitch-black devil nation was illuminated. "Humph, damned moon beast. Do you really think that you're the moon elder that the humans speak of?" A voice that came from nowhere echoed in the space. Then, like a tide of demonic patterns, the sound of Sanskrit was like thunder. The entire space was turned upside down. How could moonlight defeat the devil nation? Could true love resist heartlessness? Seeing that the moonlight was about to be extinguished, Xiaohua, who was holding the woman's hand, suddenly had his eyes lit up. He waved his left hand at a spot in the air. Under the dim moonlight, a black light that was even darker than the devil nations flashed. This time, Xiaohua's figure was still faintly discernible, but his hand firmly held the woman's hand, blocking her behind him, and said coldly, "You think that because you're hiding in my master's body, I'm not willing to destroy my master's illusion? It's a pity that you only know how to look for my master in my memories, but you don't know that when I finally called out to my master, he had just condensed his core, and his appearance had already returned to his youth. And my memory of his old appearance is too deep. Whenever I think of master, I will think of his stern appearance, and I will never think of his youthful appearance. So that's how it is." Helplessly, the two halves of the body swayed back and forth in the air. From time to time, bubbles of demonic energy would fly out from the two halves of the body, but the entire devil nation was still deathly silent. Although the moonlight was still faintly flowing in the devil nation, even the previously brilliant heart shape was beginning to dim. "Could it be you already knew?" The heavenly demon probed. Is it really as you said, that you've been accumulating power to counterattack in this cycle of karma for countless years? Strands of essence chi floated over from the Devil Nation, but because of Xiaohua's existence, these essence chi didn't fall into the heavenly demon's mouth, but instead instinctively fell into Xiaohua's body. Unfortunately, this essence chi was so little that Xiaohua's nothingness didn't change much. That's right. Xiaohua took a breath and nodded. The first time I woke up, I realized it, but I only had a moment to resist. I was powerless to do anything. Fortunately, after a few times, I realized that I had a secret technique that I could accumulate and use, so every time I woke up, I would use my magic power to accumulate the secret technique. Unfortunately, your supernatural power is too boundless. Even after accumulating power for countless years, I could only accumulate enough power to say one sentence, and the strength to raise my arm. Speaking of this, Xiaohua said indifferently, the Devil Emperor doesn't have such a powerful supernatural power. If you're not the Devil Emperor, who are you? Damn it, the heavenly demon was a little regretful. With just a sentence and the strength to raise your arm, you can break the illusion that I painstakingly created? I really don't believe it. The one who defeated you is not me, Xiaohua said word by word. The one who defeated you is the love of the human race. Behind me, there is a sea of love that you can't imagine. This sea of love is enough to destroy all the demons. Ha ha ha, the heavenly demon laughed wildly. It's just that the moon beast is meddling in other people's business. If I sneak into the moon world one day, I'll skin it, pull out its tendons, cut its meat and barbecue it. Now you should take care of yourself first. Even if you broke my illusion, do you still have the strength to fight back? Xiaohua smiled strangely and replied, why don't you guess? Seeing that Xiaohua was so calm, the heavenly demon was a little speechless, as if the situation had become awkward. Behind Xiaohua was naturally not the real Shui, but Yu Mingxin from the fragrant cult. At this time, Yu Mingxin was holding Xiaohua's hand, which seemed to be neither there nor there. Listening to the conversation between Xiaohua and the heavenly demon, she had long forgotten her surprise of appearing here for no reason. She looked at Xiaohua's almost transparent body, which was still like a mountain in front of her, and tears fell down uncontrollably. She really wanted to dig out her own flesh and give it to Xiaohua. However, she didn't dare to move. If even Xiaohua couldn't deal with the enemy, how could she be his opponent? However, she had already made up her mind. As long as Xiaohua opened his mouth, she would definitely die for Xiaohua. At this time, Xiaohua smiled and said to the heavenly demon in a low voice, you should tell me who you are. Otherwise, you won't have the chance to say it in the future. The heavenly demon sneered. With just a trace of your profound chi, do you think you can go against me? Why do you think I'm talking so much nonsense with you? Xiaohua asked back meaningfully. The heavenly demon didn't pay attention to him. His whole body was trembling as he replied, who knows? Maybe you're a chatterbox? I'm waiting for my doppelganger. Xiaohua smiled, looking very honest. The heavenly demon was not moved. He looked at Xiaohua with interest. Then why don't you show me your doppelganger? Haha, Xiaohua laughed, then said in a low voice, Mingxin, I'm sorry. Oh. Yu Mingxin stared blankly. Suddenly her palm tightened. A huge suction force came from Xiaohua's hand. The magic power in her body, as well as something she didn't understand, were all sucked out. However, why would Yu Mingxin care about this? She thought with incomparable sweetness in her heart. He called me Mingxin. You, the heavenly demon, seemed to have understood something and said in shock, you can actually use magic? The path of Taoism is broad and profound. How can you demons know? Xiaohua proudly smiled, and waved his left hand again. Wu, a black light flashed, and the devil kingdom that the heavenly demon was barely supporting, as well as his own body, finally collapsed. Fuck, this sovereign's biggest mistake was to not let your devil blade murder stay by your side. The heavenly demon's body collapsed, and he hurriedly turned into black gas. When he was preparing to abandon everything in front of him and escape, he still didn't forget to regret. That's because you were greedy. You have to get the devil blade first. Xiaohua's devil blade surged out a myriad of devil chi and black flames, pouncing towards the entire space. He was still sneering. Following the collapse of the heavenly demon's body, everything in the devil kingdom, no matter if it was the devil patterns, Sanskrit chants, or fluctuations, also collapsed. Even outside the devil kingdom, the star moon palace in the void distorted and collapsed at the same time. The remaining profound chi inside turned into brilliance and fell into Xiaohua's body. Xiaohua didn't stop. His figure shook and phoenix body Xiaohua, dragon vein Xiaohua, bone tempering Xiaohua, and devil spirit Xiaohua also turned into phantoms and flew out, rushing towards the heavenly demon. Moreover, at this time, outside the devil kingdom that was split open, a huge rumbling sound rose again. 9 huge cauldrons appeared in the night sky, and the 5-colored true chi turned into 5-colored clouds, covering the space within 1,000 miles. This was nothing. An 8th-grade lotus throne surged with supreme Buddhist light, and hung above the 9 cauldrons. Inside the Buddhist light, 10,000 Buddhas cried out in grief. Each and every one of them opened their compassionate eyes and looked at the collapsing devil kingdom. Among the 7 colors, a bright green color floated there like a light smoke. At the tip of the brush, a green vitality appeared like a seed. Soul Cultivator Xiaohua, Confucian Cultivator Xiaohua, and Buddha Bodhi respectively stood in 3 different directions of the heavenly demon, their faces expressionless and on guard. I really didn't lie to you, heavenly demon, Xiaohua said rather innocently. No matter what, we are old acquaintances. How could I lie to you? I am indeed waiting for my 3 doppelgangers to arrive. Roar! How could the heavenly demon talk nonsense with Xiaohua? The only regret in his heart was that when he was hit by the devil blade, he didn't hesitate to abandon Xiaohua, no longer maintaining the devil kingdom, and hurriedly escaped. Now that Xiaohua's doppelgangers had arrived, he was hit again. Not only did Xiaohua's profound chi have to escape from his body, even his heavenly demon body was in danger. The heavenly demon's body swayed, turned into a supreme demonic body, and rushed out of the devil kingdom. Boom! Unfortunately, just as he came in contact with the brilliance of the 9 cauldrons, he was immediately blasted down. However, the heavenly demon only flipped in midair and flew to another place. Namo Methriya Buddha. With a Buddhist chant, the phantom of an 8th-grade lotus throne fell down and destroyed 10% of the heavenly demon's body. Roar! The heavenly demon screamed, and his figure strangely disappeared. Chapter 41:20. Seeing this, Soul Cultivator Xiaohua sneered. Turning the void into a void again, heavenly demon is indeed a heavenly demon. While speaking, Soul Cultivator Xiaohua opened his mouth, and tens of millions of green seal characters rushed out. As Yabai pointed at them, the green seal characters immediately disappeared. Boom! Boom! In the rumbling sound, green lines rolled and appeared, revealing the heavenly demon's figure. At this time, the heavenly demon's figure shrank by another 10%. Formation. Hearing Xiaohua's cold shout, the 9 cauldrons once again let out a rumbling sound, rolling in the air one after another. The 9 cauldrons spewed out thick 9-colored light pillars, sealing off the heavenly demon, and even the collapsed devil nation. Form Buddha Bodhi raised his hand, and took out the 10,000 Buddha paintings Kasaya. The Kasaya instantly became empty and tens of thousands of Buddha lords appeared in the air, blocking the space outside the 9 cauldrons. The 8-grade lotus also broke down, turning into 8 petals and falling among the 10,000 Buddha lords, urging Buddha light to force the heavenly demon. Kacha Soul Cultivator Xiaohua didn't have a soul weapon to kill, but with a wave of his hand, 13 huge green seal characters flew out and turned into huge thunderbolts. These thunderbolts flashed and condensed into the appearance of 13 gods. These thunderbolts flashed in the air like pythons, trapping the heavenly demon in the center. Every time the thunderbolts came with the sound of gods and ghosts, the heavenly demon couldn't help but tremble. Refine. Xiaohua didn't stop at all. He chanted the incantation and the 3 doppelgangers urged their divine abilities. The Buddha light mixed with innate true chi entangled with the green seal characters and surged violently towards the heavenly demon. Woo-woo! Everything fell into the heavenly demon and the devil country. An indescribable sobbing sound came out and the whole space began to tremble. Even Yu Mingxin, who was hiding behind Xiaohua, turned pale and showed extreme fear in her eyes. Green-robed fellow Taoist Xiaohua smiled faintly and pulled the green-robed Xiaohua out of the space, shouting, "Please send Yu Mingxin into the Kunlun mirror to rest." All right. Green-robed Xiaohua stayed in the space because of his heavy injuries, so he didn't fall into the heavenly demon's illusion. He agreed and took out the Kunlun mirror. With a flash of light, Yu Ming Xian was sucked into the mirror. Yu Ming Xian pulled her hand out of Xiaohua's hand. Her heart felt empty, as if she had lost something. The heavenly devil was being refined in the Buddha, Confucian, and Soul formations. Every time a wisp of black smoke was released, a corresponding devil pattern from the devil kingdom would fall into it. Then layers of devil shadows would appear. The demonic shadow was filled with killing, peace, savagery, love, hatred, and so on. It was as if everything in the world was contained in this small wisp of black gas and demonic patterns. When these demonic figures disappeared, the black gas and demonic patterns also disappeared, and a wisp of extremely pure essence appeared within the three formations. Xiaohua opened his mouth, and the profound qi entered his body. His illusory figure began to solidify. After a full 81 days of refining, Xiaohua's figure finally recovered. At the same time, Dragon Vein Xiaohua, Bone Tempering Xiaohua, Phoenix Body Xiaohua, and Devil Spirit Xiaohua also recovered. Looking at the heavenly devil inside the formation, it was no longer as incorporeal as before. It had turned into a slightly turbid black fog. This black fog still had many devil patterns dancing with the formation. Xiaohua's gaze swept across the black fog and he said, "Fellow Taoists, from the previous demonic shadow, we can see that this heavenly devil's origin is not small. It used illusions to lure and kill countless cultivators. Now we have taken back our profound qi. However, there is still a lot of profound qi hidden in the heavenly devil's body. It is not good to stay here for a long time. I want to take the heavenly devil into the space and refine it. After I refine all of its profound qi, I will share it with fellow Taoists. How about it?" Good. The several clones nodded in agreement. Thus, Xiaohua waved his hands and hundreds of lightning bolts flashed outside the formation. These lightning bolts were like surging pythons that surrounded the formation. Then they gradually shrank until they were only a few feet in size. Xiaohua's mind rolled, and the lightning balls immediately fell into the space. Not only did Xiaohua let out a sigh of relief, but all the clones also let out sighs of relief. Although the previous three formations trapped the heavenly devil, everyone didn't dare to relax. Although the heavenly devil itself didn't have the power to attack, it was good at transformation and knew how to bewitch. The slightest carelessness could cause cultivators to fall into an illusion and kill themselves. And if the heavenly devil fell into Xiaohua's space, even if it was 10 times stronger, it wouldn't be able to escape. However, after a moment, Xiaohua faintly smiled and said, "Fellow Taoists, don't be too relaxed. Our space is also a space, and it must be related to the devil realm where the heavenly devil came from. Before I completely refine the heavenly devil, we can't be careless." Big Brother Devil Spirit Xiaohua hurriedly shouted, "Little Brother can devour the heavenly devil and get everything Big Brother knows. Similarly, Little Brother can also get his magical power from devouring the heavenly devil." "Don't worry," Xiaohua nodded. "After I rest for a while, I will find a way to separate the heavenly devil's devil qi from the devil pattern, and give you what you need. Compensate you for the loss in the illusion." Fellow Taoist Bone Honing Xiaohua hurriedly shouted, "You were the first to kill me in the illusion." Xiaohua angrily glared at the Bone Honing Xiaohua, then looked at the phoenix-bodied Xiaohua and the others. He said word by word, "Although the dreamland is just a dreamland, it really gave us a wake-up call. You and I are from the same roots. Why are you so anxious to kill each other? When I wasn't ready, I rashly separated my primordial spirit, which caused the great calamity of today's primordial spirit battle. We must take this as a warning, before the hidden danger of the primordial spirit separation is eliminated. We must not have any more twists and turns. And we must remember, we are one person, no matter when, even if there are other changes when I ascend in the future. We must never be enemies with each other." "Good. We understand." The avatars agreed in unison. "Hee hee, fellow Taoist, please take a look." Hearing Xiaohua being so serious, Confucian cultivator Xiaohua waved his hand, took out a spatial ring, and handed it to Xiaohua. Although Xiaohua could read Confucian cultivator Xiaohua's thoughts, at this time, he already understood that avatars were avatars. He had to respect them first. Only then could they truly become independent cultivators. Therefore, Xiaohua took the spatial ring and checked it with his divine sense. He couldn't help but be overjoyed. Is this the orthodoxy of the 8 great sects? Yes, Confucian cultivator Xiaohua said with a smile. In the 10 years that fellow Taoist disappeared, this one, the little monk, and fellow Taoist soul cultivator assisted General Sun in the southwest border, rescuing the 8 great sects from the siege of the devil race. These sects were the same as the White Cloud Temple's sect master. They all wanted to use their orthodoxy to exchange with our Fortune Gate's sect protecting formation. Deferentially, this one will do his best to exchange with them. Haha, good. Xiaohua put away the spatial ring and said with a smile. The sects of the ruins specialize in cultivating the primordial spirit. Their cultivation technique will definitely be useful to us. Moreover, the ruins is the upper realm. Their orthodoxy must have something that our Tao Gate can use as a reference. This transaction is really worth it. Speaking of this, Xiaohua looked at the 3 avatars and asked tentatively. There are 10 sects in the southwest border. 10 years ago, when I was fighting with the Devil Emperor, the Devil race had besieged these 10 sects. Now our Fortune Gate has helped 8 sects escape from the Devil race. What about the other 2 sects? What is the situation of our Fortune Gate's disciples? This Confucian cultivator Xiaohua hesitated for a moment, then said, It's a long story. We should return to the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range. Oh, Soaring Dragon Mountain Range? Xiaohua raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, Not only did you move the Fortune Gate to the ruins, you even changed the ruins mountain range to the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range. It's not a matter of moving or not, Confucian cultivator Xiaohua answered. Our Fortune Gate's disciples are fighting for the ruins. We need a place to stay. We can't enter the 8 sects foundations as we wish, but finding a barren mountain range to stay is still easy. Moreover, we don't plan to leave the Fortune Gate's descendants in the ruins. Many other sects' disciples wanted to join our Fortune Gate, but we didn't agree. And Xiaohua nodded, then looked around and ordered, Fellow Taoists, we will search carefully within 10,000 li radius. Don't let the heavenly devil's avatar escape. Yes. The various avatars were already prepared. Hearing Xiaohua's order, each of them executed their divine abilities and carefully searched within 10,000 li radius, whether it was in the void or in mid-air. Xiaohua even opened his delusion breaker law to search inch by inch. Sure enough, in a short while the heavenly devil's avatars hidden in the void were found one by one, and all of them were devoured by Xiaohua. After searching 10,000 li radius, they found a total of 8 avatars. Not daring to be careless, Xiaohua's avatars once again searched 10,000 li radius, until they found no more avatars. However, Xiaohua stood in the void, looking at the place where the Star Moon Palace had been. Although everything seemed like a dream, it was deeply imprinted in his mind. He sighed softly, knowing that the heavenly devil had been planning for this place for more than a decade. It was impossible for him to not have a backup plan. Moreover, the heavenly devil must have left some avatars in the sky of freedom. His divine abilities were limited. It was impossible for him to completely exterminate the heavenly devil. Xiaohua snorted coldly. Even if I don't refine the heavenly devil, he won't let me go in the future. Then why don't I refine him? My divine abilities have yet to reach major completion. But when my cultivation becomes stronger, would I still be afraid of him? Heavenly devil, a heavenly devil, I'm looking forward to it. When will you come to see me again? Tribulation? After saying that, Xiaohua's figure turned into a rainbow, flying into the distance with the scholarly cultivator Xiaohua. In the first light of dawn, within the dewdrops on a blade of grass, a wisp of dim black qi, less than an inch long, trembled slightly as the sunlight shone on it, like a trembling eyelash. When the dewdrop's water vapor dissipated, the black qi also hid in the void, slowly disappearing. The heavenly devil's 9th avatar finally escaped Xiaohua's search. It was unknown whether he had returned to the Dezizai heavenly devil kingdom, or if he had other plans. Chapter 41-21. In a bamboo forest, under a bamboo pavilion, Xiaohua sat cross-legged at the center of the pavilion under the scorching sun. Scholarly cultivator Xiaohua and his other avatars were not present, only Sun Jian stood respectfully at the side. On the other side of the mountain peak where the bamboo forest was, there was another majestic mountain range that stretched across the land, resembling a sleeping dragon. Above the mountain range, 2 lightning boats were hovering in the air, emitting faint rumbling noises. Vaguely, the Fortune Gate disciples on the lightning boats were flying around, either setting up defenses or patrolling the area. Amidst their orderly movements, there was an austere atmosphere. Xiaohua narrowed his eyes. Although he did not release his divine sense, he saw everything with his eyes. It had been 3 days since he returned to the soaring Dragon Mountain range. His avatars had temporarily returned to his body to rest. After all, he had been refining the heavenly devil's essence in his space, and his avatars would be nourished as long as they were in his body. In these 3 days, Sun Jian had also reported the situation at the Fortune Gate and the southwest border to Xiaohua. Only now did Xiaohua know that when he had chased after the Archdevil Emperor with his 3 avatars, he had fallen into the heavenly devil's meticulously laid out illusion. Confucian cultivator Xiaohua, soul cultivator Xiaohua, and Buddha Subhuti had lost contact with him, and their search was fruitless. After a short discussion, they had immediately caught up to the lightning boat and explained the matter to Sun Jian. Sun Jian turned pale with fright and wanted to turn around and search for Xiaohua, but scholarly cultivator Xiaohua and the others knew that although Xiaohua was missing, his life was not in danger. Moreover, the heavenly devil emperor was powerful, and only Sun Jian's 3 avatars could restrain him. The other Fortune Gate disciples were no match for the heavenly devil emperor, so they stopped Sun Jian. Sun Jian then discussed with the White Cloud Monastery's disciples. Since the heavenly devil emperor had attacked the 10 southwestern sects at the same time, the other sects must have been surrounded by the heavenly devil emperor. They hoped that the White Cloud Monastery and Fortune Gate disciples would join hands to rescue the other sects. The White Cloud Monastery understood that without the lips, the teeth would feel cold. Sect Chief Baishan followed Sun Jian and led the 2 sects' disciples to the nearest White Cloud Monastery's Light Melody Palace to rescue the heavenly devil emperor. Sure enough, the Light Melody Palace was also trapped by the heavenly devil emperor's formation, and could not send any disciples to ask for help. The White Cloud Monastery and Fortune Gate's disciples' arrival was akin to sending charcoal in snowy weather. After several months of fierce battle, the 3 sects finally repelled the heavenly devil emperor. Moreover, what made Sun Jian feel at ease was that other than the demon monarch, the demon emperor who disappeared at the same time as Xiaohua did not appear. Following that, the White Cloud Monastery, Soft Melody Palace, and Fortune Gate's disciples joined hands to rescue Fu Ridge. In this manner, the White Cloud Monastery, Soft Melody Palace, Fu Ridge, Curved Cloud Pavilion, Bright Dawn Hall, Jingbo Mountain, Zhanhong Faction, and Water Cloud Sect were rescued from the Devil Clan's siege. In the last few years, the White Cloud Monastery, Soft Melody Palace, and the rest of the 8 sects did not send out all their forces. Instead, they sent out their elite disciples to assist the Fortune Gate. They once again focused their attention on their sect's defenses. Under the guidance of Confucian cultivator Xiaohua, the 8 sects laid down the Pleiades devil-devouring immortal formation at their respective mountain gates to guard against the devil race's invasion. Of course, during these 10 years, the devil race had returned to besiege the Soft Tune Palace and the other sections. In the end, all of them were defeated by the Pleiades devil-devouring immortal formation. However, the cruelty of war was not to be underestimated. After more than a decade of war, more than half of the 100,000 Fortune Gate's disciples had fallen. Currently, there were less than 50,000 disciples guarding the 2 lightning boats. Xiaohua flew all the way back. Because he had just recovered, he did not have the time to investigate the wandering souls in the space. Now that he had heard Sun Jian's report, he could already imagine the hardships of the war. He retracted his gaze from the lightning boats and sighed. Sun Jian, it's been hard on you this time. This Xiao thanks the general on behalf of the Fortune Gate's disciples. Sun Jian was terrified. He hurriedly bowed and said, Master Xiao, Although this one is a Confucian cultivator and an immortal palace's true monarch, this one has received a lot of help from Master Xiao. The Fortune Gate's disciples also respect this one. This one can lead the Fortune Gate's disciples to fight for the human race in the ancient ruins. This is 100 times better than leading immortal soldiers and immortal generals to kill the Tao Gate's cultivators on the hidden immortal mainland. This one is willing to do all of this. Master Xiao does not need to thank me for this. En Xiaohua nodded and said, "It's good that you have such intentions. This old man will definitely not treat you unfairly." "Yes, this one understands," Sun Jian solemnly replied. Since Xiaohua's return, Sun Jian felt as if Xiaohua had been reborn. That aura of a saint on the inside and a monarch on the outside was undoubtedly revealed in his every action. Sun Jian could not help but feel like he was looking at a high mountain. In his entire life he had only felt this kind of feeling in front of one person, and that was the immortal emperor. Now that this feeling appeared again, Sun Jian believed without hesitation that Xiaohua would become another immortal emperor in the future. Of course, Xiaohua did not know what Sun Jian was thinking. He was a little puzzled and asked, "Could it be that in these 10 years that devil emperor never appeared?" "Indeed, he never appeared." Sun Jian nodded. "Otherwise, it wouldn't have been so easy for us to rescue the 8 sects." "That's strange." Xiaohua was a little bewildered. Until now, he still did not know when he had fallen into the Sky Devil's ambush. He also did not know if the Devil Emperor he was chasing at that time was the real Devil Emperor. Xiaohua naturally did not tell Sun Jian about his encounter with the Sky Devil in detail. At this moment, Sun Jian carefully said, "Presumably, Master Xiao injured him that day, and he saw that Master Zhao's 3 old friends were here. He knew that he was not a match for them, so he did not dare to appear." "And that's the only way I can think of it." Xiaohua nodded. "My 3 old friends are the Devil Emperor's nemesis, so it is normal that the Devil Emperor does not dare to appear. Also, the Ruins Conference Hall only sent 20,000 disciples and no other assistants?" "Yes." Sun Jian nodded. "Other than the 20,000 disciples and the basic supplies used by the Ruins army, the conference hall does not have any other assistance. However, according to the information obtained by White Cloud Monastery and the other sects, the Ruins' current situation is worrying. The conference hall sending 20,000 disciples is already not bad. Oh, they also sent the conference hall's military order, inviting Master Xiao to the conference hall." As he said this, Sun Jian took out a purple token and handed it to Xiaohua. Xiaohua glanced at it, then casually handed it back to Sun Jian. "This old man doesn't know how to arrange troops, so why should I go to the conference hall? Do you want me to bicker with them? If the conference hall needs it, General Sun can go there yourself." "Yes, this one understands." Sun Jian did not dare to decline, and accepted the token. After pondering for a moment, Xiaohua asked again, "Is the 50,000 Fortune Gate disciples enough?" Sun Jian answered without hesitation. "Other than the 50,000 Fortune Gate disciples, there are 20,000 Conference Hall disciples under my command. Other than that, the White Cloud Monastery and the other 8 sects sent another 80,000 disciples. However, my Fortune Gate's disciples use the lightning boats as the formation base, so other sects' disciples cannot help. Therefore, although there are more people, their battle strength is lacking, so this one did not dare to make a decision on the 2 most difficult battles at the Snow Chopping Gate and Yong'an Mountain." And Xiaohua nodded. "Then this old man will give you another 100,000 disciples." "Ah, so many?" Sun Jian was shocked. He knew that Xiaohua would send out more disciples, but he did not expect it to be 100,000. Xiaohua did not explain. He flew up into the air and took out the Kunlun mirror. As the mirror vibrated, 100,000 disciples flew out and lined up neatly in the air. General Sun Xiaohua raised a finger and said, "I'll leave these disciples to you today. This old man has just recovered from a serious injury, so I need to enter seclusion for the time being. The remaining 2 sects will depend on you and these disciples to rescue them. Of course, you can rest assured that on the day the army departs, this old man will send 3 of his good friends to accompany you." "Many thanks, Teacher Xiao." Sun Jian was overjoyed. He bowed respectfully and ordered the lightning boat to come over. Xiaohua said, "While this old man is in seclusion, if there is nothing important, there is no need to report to me. You can decide for yourself. Also, Fortune Gate disciples are not to approach this old man's seclusion area." "Yes, this one understands," Sun Jian respectfully replied. "This one will give the order immediately." "Good. Go and train these disciples." Xiaohua nodded. "Let Lu Yi and the others come over." Naturally, Lu Yi and the other disciples were the happiest with Xiaohua's return, but they were Sun Jian's subordinates. Without Sun Jian's orders, they did not dare to come over. Now that Xiaohua had given the order, Sun Jian naturally had to let them pass. In just a short while, Fu Jiwen and the other personal disciples, as well as the Black Bear, Golden Eagle, and White Lion, flew over to greet Xiaohua. Xiaohua had already seen that all his disciples were present, and was overjoyed. Looking at these disciples who had experienced the flames of war, their temperament was completely different from before. He was even more gratified. Wu Tian, Fu Jiwen, and the others roughly recounted their experiences in the past 10 years. Since it was war, there was naturally blood. Although Xiaohua's disciples did not die, injuries were unavoidable. Even Yuanya was almost killed by the devil army. In short, these disciples had experienced more life and death situations in the past 10 years than several thousand years. These life and death experiences were extremely beneficial to their cultivation, and everyone had made considerable progress. After listening, Xiaohua gave them a few words of encouragement, and gave them a large number of medicinal pills refined by Xiaogua. Then he asked them to stay behind and give them face-to-face guidance. A few days later, after passing on the strength, Xiaohua gave them the witch dolls refined by Soul Cultivator Xiaohua, and ordered them to keep them close to their bodies. Of course, Xiaohua did not explain the use of these witch dolls, so as to avoid these disciples from slacking off. After the group of disciples thanked Xiaohua and left, Xiaohua waved his sleeve, and his figure disappeared. Light smoke slowly rose from the bamboo forest in the distance, completely covering the scenery of the mountain peak. Xiaohua's figure landed in the bamboo forest, but did not directly return to the bamboo pavilion. Instead, he frowned and looked at the green bamboos that pierced straight into the sky. These green bamboos were different from the ones Xiaohua had seen before. The bamboo joints were very long, at least several feet long, and the connections between the joints were also thick. As for the bamboo leaves, they were small, and even somewhat oval. When the wind blew, not only did a kind of fragrance hit his face, but the rustling sound made Xiaohua feel as if it was the sound of nature. Chapter 41-22. Dozens of years passed in the blink of an eye, but in Xiaohua's eyes, these dozens of years were another tribulation of tempering. During this tempering, not only was Xiaohua racking his brains at every moment, he was also suffering a kind of painful torment at every moment. A simple cycle of karma was merely a process for Xiaohua's clone, but the experience of a tribulation of his clone was an enormous and inconceivable experience for Xiaohua's main body. In particular, this cycle of karma was not only for Xiaohua's main body, but also for his phoenix body Xiaohua, bone-tempering Xiaohua, dragon bloodline Xiaohua, and devil spirit Xiaohua. These 4 doppelganger experiences were also added to Xiaohua's main body. In this world, which Mahayana stage human had experienced so much tempering. Early on, in the heavenly demon's illusion, not only was Xiaohua's physical body sucked dry, even his Tao foundation, consciousness, primordial spirit, and so on showed signs of collapse. If Xiaohua didn't have a little obsession in his heart, and wanted to hold Shueishue's hand again, he would have already fallen in the Star Moon Palace formed by the heavenly demon. The first strike to kill the heavenly demon was a strike that Xiaohua used up all his remaining essence, and it was also a strike that condensed his strength before his body collapsed. At that time, although Xiaohua looked calm, he really didn't have the strength to strike a second time. He was in the same situation as the heavenly demon. The heavenly demon was trying its best to maintain its demonic body, trying its best to not let the newly built demonic kingdom collapse. The heavenly demon also saw Xiaohua's collapse. The heavenly demon didn't escape, because it wanted to have a final competition with Xiaohua to see who could last until the end. Of course, Xiaohua didn't dare to strike a second time because the backlash from the demonic saber was exactly what the heavenly demon wanted. At that time, Xiaohua had already noticed that the heavenly demon's consciousness had begun to invade his essence. However, the heavenly demon still underestimated Xiaohua. Its understanding of Xiaohua was that of the Imperial Thunder Sect's Qi refinement disciple. Although the heavenly demon had overestimated Xiaohua, it was far from enough. Not only did Xiaohua obtain Song Longzi's inheritance, but he also obtained Du Shanjuan's Scarlet Infant technique and many other secret techniques. Moreover, Xiaohua obtained the Dragon Clan's Heavenly Dragon Language technique, and the inheritance of the 13 Soul Cultivators. Xiaohua even had the most basic understanding of Time of the Eye in the Heavenly Prison. Xiaohua had far exceeded the heavenly demon's estimation. The heavenly demon not only didn't notice Xiaohua's every time the karma cycle, but it also didn't notice that Xiaohua's of the soul cultivator's souls of the demonic saber's demonic qi after the of the demonic saber. That of the heavenly of the eyes of the eye, of the heavenly demon's heavenly Tao. What the heavenly demon didn't expect the most was that Xiaohua, a Taoist cultivator, was actually so unprofessional. Not only did he cultivate Confucianism, he also cultivated Buddhism, and he even cultivated the rarely seen soul cultivator. The combination of these three divine abilities perfectly trapped him in the Great Formation, leaving him no chance to escape. In the end, the heavenly demon went for wool but came home shorn, falling into Xiaohua's trap. Based on his understanding of Xiaohua, Xiaohua would definitely refine him until not even dregs were left. Fortunately, he had 9 doppelgangers, and their consciousnesses had long been left outside the Devil Kingdom. The heavenly demon wasn't afraid that he would die without descendants. Xiaohua's harvest was full, but the accumulation of 5 eons of tribulations tempering exceeded what his current cultivation could bear. At first glance he heard the ordinary sound of bamboo leaves, which was like the sound of nature, cleansing his murderous heart. He couldn't help but be intoxicated. Just like that, he stood in the bamboo forest, quietly listening to the wind blowing, the flowers blooming, the rain falling, and the stars shining. After a long time, another bright moon hung in the sky. Xiaohua opened his eyes, and a majestic, and austere aura was emitted from his body. Whoosh! All the bamboo within several feet of him instantly turned into powder. However, just as this aura was about to spread out, Xiaohua frowned and immediately restrained this aura. Sighing, Xiaohua shook his head slightly. Cultivation, it seems like there's no end to it. This Xiao has just gone through 10,000 years of bitter cultivation, and just stepped into the Mahayana realm. Now I have to face an even more severe test. The tempering of the illusory realm has passed, but the real tempering of the mind has just begun. This tempering, damn, it's more effective than any experience or seclusion. In the future, this Xiao probably doesn't need to travel and comprehend anymore. Just these difficulties left for this Xiao by the heavenly demon should be enough for this Xiao to set foot in the immortal world, right? Now Xiaohua's goal was naturally the immortal world. He couldn't imagine what kind of test the heavenly demon had left for him in the ruins in the illusory realm, and how shocking the effects of this test were. All kinds of karma could only be truly experienced by Xiaohua in the future. At this moment, Xiaohua looked at the empty space on his left, closed his eyes, and curled the corner of his mouth. The soul Tulia brush appeared in his hand, and as he waved it, rays of dark green light flashed, and in an instant, a large patch of green bamboo appeared out of thin air. These bamboos looked a bit illusory, as if they were suspended in the air, and they were slightly twisting. When the brush was put away, all of the bamboos began to stand straight and firm. Finally, Xiaohua smiled, and green runes bloomed on the brush like green buds. As Xiaohua tapped on the bamboos one by one, the bamboos miraculously came to life, and thin roots slowly pierced into the ground. The wind blew, and the bamboo leaves shattered. Another song of moonlight bamboo. Since he had thought about it, Xiaohua had already made his decision. He put down the brush, and his figure landed in the bamboo pavilion. He raised his hand, and the Kunlun mirror appeared in his hand. As the light vibrated, Yu Mingxin appeared in front of Xiaohua. At this moment, the moonlight cleansing landed on Yu Mingxin's body, and an indescribable luster was born from her body. Xiaohua was stunned at first, but then he understood. Because of Yu Mingxin's prayer, the moon beast had left the moon god's mark on Yu Mingxin and him. It was this moon god's mark that had saved him at a critical moment. It was also because he and Yu Mingxin had used the moon god's mark that Yu Mingxin's body would be blessed by the moon god. Xiaohua lowered his head to look at himself. He looked no different from usual. It was probably because his thoughts and prayers were not the Yu Mingxin in the moon god's mark, so he couldn't receive the so-called moon god's mark. Xiaohua. Spiritual Master Xiao. Senior Xiao. When Yu Mingxin saw Xiaohua, she immediately called out in concern. However, after calling him 3 times in a row, she felt that it was inappropriate. In the end, her face actually turned red. She lowered her head and asked in a voice like a fly, Are you all right? Ai Xiaohua sighed. He raised his eyes to look at the natural bright moon. He suddenly thought of a poem. My heart was originally towards the bright moon, but the bright moon shines on the ditch. At this moment, the bright moon was naturally Xiaohua and not Yu Mingxin. However, the falling flower has feelings for the heartless brook. It was nothing more than this. Lady Yu. When Xiaohua opened his mouth, Yu Mingxin's body trembled. She raised her head. Xiaohua couldn't bear to look at her, slightly biting her lips and her embarrassed and helpless expression. The soft-hearted Xiaohua almost wanted to call her Mingxin. However, when he thought of his tolerance toward Shueshui back then, and Shueshui's sorrowful and bloody confession, and even Shueshui's tragedy, Xiaohua hardened his heart and said, Thank you for saving this old man's life again. This old man doesn't have anything to repay you. Cultivation methods, spiritual treasures, whatever you want, this old man will definitely satisfy you. Speaking up to here, Xiaohua raised his hand and a thumb-sized pure white profound qi fell into his hand. He said again, This old man offended you that day and recklessly used your profound qi. This old man will compensate you. As he spoke, Xiaohua raised his hand again. That profound qi immediately flew out, and was about to fall between Yu Mingxin's eyebrows. Wait! At this moment, Yu Mingxin's eyes became distressed. She opened her mouth and shouted, Xiaohua, can you wait for me to say something? Can you listen to what I'm thinking? Can you not measure everything with spiritual treasures and primeval stones? All right. Xiaohua smiled and said, If you have something to say, then say it. This old man is here to listen. Xiaohua. Yu Mingxin bit her lips. There were tears in her eyes. I hope you can understand my recklessness tonight. Tonight, I won't call you Senior Xiao or Spiritual Master Xiao. I'll just call you Xiaohua. All right. Xiaohua's heart ached slightly. He nodded and replied, Xiaohua, I know that there are some things in this world that can't be explained. I only met you once and was saved by you once. Actually, even I don't dare to believe it. After I returned to the sect, I thought of you almost every moment. This feeling is something that I have never felt before. Do you know? Why did the Luna Beast's imprint take effect at that time? Why did I appear in front of you from hundreds of millions of miles away? Why did I hold your hand and face a powerful opponent? The Luna Beast's imprint wouldn't take effect for no reason. If you and I didn't miss each other, how could the Luna Beast's imprint make me appear in front of you? If I didn't pray under the moon god that you were safe after disappearing for more than 10 years, how could I make the Luna Beast's imprint take effect? Xiaohua, don't say that you didn't think of me at that time. Don't say that what you thought of that day wasn't me. When she said the last sentence, Yu Mingxin's head almost dropped to her towering chest. However, after a short moment, she raised her head again and looked at Xiaohua stubbornly. She didn't seem to avoid Xiaohua's gaze and said directly, Xiaohua, some people don't have any feelings of longing in their hearts after seeing someone for their entire life. However, some people know that it's something that they've been chasing for their entire life after seeing someone once. I don't know how many disciples in my sect have confessed their love to me. At the same time, many young cultivators from other sects in the ruins have also begged my sect's elders, but I didn't feel anything. You and I are both Dao sect cultivators. You should be the most clear about this kind of cause and effect. You don't need me to explain it in detail, right? But Xiaohua smiled bitterly and said, This old man doesn't think that this kind of feeling is the so-called emotion. Chapter 41-23. Unfortunately, Yuming Xian didn't want to listen to Xiaohua's explanation. He continued to talk to himself. Xiaohua, I know your cultivation base is profound. After my senior martial brother and I reported your matter, even the patriarch's eyes shined with splendor. He wanted to rope you in to become an elder of our fragrant religion. He even hinted to me that I must pass this information to you. But I don't know how to tell you. I know my cultivation is shallow and I'm only a junior in front of you. I'm not worthy of a great hero like you. But my heart is sincere, and even the moon beast of the Moon Palace recognizes it. I just want to be by your side, even if I can only look at your back. I want to see everything about you, whether it's Ao Xiaoxiu or your name that shook the cultivation world. I just want to see your figure, and be proud of you. Alas, Monsieur Xiaohua sighed. He clearly remembered that Xue had said the same thing in the past. He opened his mouth and said, You don't understand. What you said, what you thought, can't be considered true love. It's just a kind of longing, a natural closeness to the strong. It's easy for anyone to have this. Maybe after a long time, you'll really understand. You're wrong. Xiaohua. Yu Mingxin interrupted Xiaohua without hesitation and retorted, You're not a woman. You don't understand a woman's heart. You also don't know how women think. We women understand much more than men when it comes to worship and love a person. Maybe I have more longing for the elders of my fragrant religion, but how can I have the same longing for them as you? You don't even know that women hate you. But where is this hatred? Where does this hatred come from? There's no such thing as love for no reason. This hatred can only come from love. A woman can't hate a man who doesn't have any love for her. Even this man doesn't exist in a woman's eyes. Maybe. Xiaohua couldn't convince Yu Mingxin, so he could only look at the bright moon outside the bamboo pavilion and say, Now that it's come to this, I think, this old man should also tell you my story, my experience, and even my thoughts on that day. Women were naturally curious and Yu Mingxin was no exception. Thus, Xiaohua briefly told the story of himself and Xue. Finally, he said, I believe you understand, Miss Yu. Of course, I'm not thinking of you. What I was thinking of that day was my lover. That was for my dead lover. I used an eon's worth of accumulation, just to hold her hand. I'd rather go through an entire eon to truly fulfill my dream of seeing her. However, it wasn't her, it was you. Perhaps this is what they call a freak combination of circumstances? One calamity, Yu Ming Xian was obviously a little dazed. Her face was flushed, and she was almost moaning. If someone is willing to miss me for one calamity, I don't care even if I'm smashed into pieces. How fortunate was that girl named Xue. How can I have no regrets? Even in the 9 underworlds, there's an infatuated man who'd rather give up his life and use an eon's worth of longing to hold her hand. If it was me, I'd rather take his place. Even if I can't fall into the 9 underworlds, I'd be willing to fall into the bottom of the sea river. What nonsense are you talking about? Xiaohua rebuked. Why are you acting crazy? Xiaohua, are you worried about me? Yu Mingxin asked. Xiaohua smiled and didn't answer. Instead, he continued. The feelings of 2 people depend on fate. Don't the people of the secular world have a saying? Fated to meet thousands of miles apart. Fated to meet. Fated not to meet? Actually, Miss Yu, you and I really don't have any fate. Speaking up to here, Xiaohua sighed. The people of the secular world all think like this. We Taoist cultivators easily live for hundreds of years, and even thousands of years. We have even more opportunities to find our own fate. However, how can a person's fate be judged only by time? If we're not fated, even if 10,000 years, how can we meet again? Speaking up to here, Xiaohua couldn't help but think of Fairy Hongxia from Donrain continent. However, because of some grudges, the 2 of them had been separated for tens of thousands of years. Although Xue had fallen, her soul was in the inside of space. Xiaohua could see her from time to time. Although Fairy Hongxia was still alive, she was far from yin and yang. Xiaohua sighed again. Perhaps it's better to forget each other in the pugilistic world than to help each other in times of need. Yu Mingxin smiled bitterly. However, she gritted her teeth and said, Xiaohua, I know your love for Xue Xue. I also deeply sympathize with her experience and admire her sacrifice. However, even if it's me, I can also do it. The so-called, it's better to forget each other in the pugilistic world than to help each other in times of need. I really don't understand. I'd rather stay by your side and not forget each other in the pugilistic world. Miss Yu, you are still young. Perhaps in the future when you have experience, you'll understand. Xiaohua couldn't explain his thoughts. He took out the essence and said, now you should replenish the essence that you owe. This essence is very important to you. It's also very crucial to your Tao heart. The heavenly devil's dance overturned the mortal world. Although you weren't directly injured by the heavenly devil, when this old man borrowed your essence, perhaps the heavenly devil's dance had already taken advantage of the situation. Not only were you injured, your Tao foundation was also damaged. If you don't replenish it in time and don't repair your Tao heart in the future, you may encounter the tribulation of the mortal world. Especially when your cultivation is somewhat damaged, it's even more likely to happen. Xiaohua Yu Mingxin stared at Xiaohua, as if she wanted to imprint Xiaohua's appearance into her heart. She said word by word, take back that essence. I don't need it. Since I've already paid, I don't want to take it back. I also don't want to take back what I've paid. I'd rather you owe me. I'd rather my essence be in your body. I'd rather you owe me a lifetime. In the future, perhaps thousands of years, perhaps tens of thousands of years, perhaps I'll turn into nothingness, perhaps I'll fall into the 9 underworlds. When you think of all of this, when you think of everything that happened today, you will think of me. You'll think of a pitiful woman who's willing to show you everything she has. If I take this so-called essence, perhaps your karma will be severed. In the future, you'll never think of the woman you met in the ruins. The woman who will think of you for who knows how many years in the future. Looking at this stubborn woman, Xiaohua was somewhat speechless. He didn't know how to explain it to her. After all, this was the ruins, not the hidden immortal continent. In the hidden immortal continent, he provoked Fairy Jing and Xian. Fairy Jing drank the forgotten love water for him, and Xian was the princess of the immortal palace. He didn't know how to deal with her. How could he provoke a little woman who fell in love with him at first sight in the upper realm's ruins? Thinking of this, Xiaohua took back his essence and said seriously, Lady Yu, this old man won't say anything unnecessary. After all, life and time are the best teachers. In the future, you'll understand what this old man said today. Moreover, in the future, you'll inevitably meet a man who's more suitable for you. You'll also inevitably have an even more unforgettable love. You'll also have a true life, a true love. Forget about me, I'm just an outsider. In the end, I'll return to my own world, and won't leave a trace, in the ruins. How can it be that easy? Yu Mingxin's eyes flashed with determination as she replied, Xiaohua, love is a seed that has already been planted. How can it disappear? Perhaps it'll never sprout, so let it ferment forever. Let this love dissipate in the night sky with the moon god's favor. Saying this, Yu Mingxin took out a veil from her spatial ring and covered her head. She looked up at the round moon that was as bright as a mirror. Her gaze was so sad. Lady Yu, why are you doing this? Looking at Yu Mingxin's veil, Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat. You have your persistence, I have my principles. Yu Mingxin indifferently replied. Perhaps one day, when the knot in my heart is gone, I'll remove this veil. I'll face this world once again. Xiaohua sighed again. He knew that he had hurt a girl's heart, and even changed her life. However, he knew that he had done the right thing. It was better to have a short pain than a long pain. This was a kind of rebirth pain for Yu Mingxin, but it was also a kind of relief for him. Lady Yu, I'll send you back to the fragrance order. Xiaohua looked at the moon that was gradually setting, and asked in disappointment. No need. Yu Mingxin slightly shook her head. You only need to tell me where this place is, and I'll take the transmission array back to the fragrance order. This place, Xiaohua stuttered. I don't know where this is. Now that the devil race is rampant, I'll personally send you back. You've just recovered from your injuries. It's better for you to cultivate here. Yu Mingxin indifferently replied. If I'm not wrong, this should be the coiling dragon mountain of the ruins, which is the so-called soaring dragon mountain range of the newly risen Fortune Gate. There's a transmission array for Soft Sound Palace nearby. I'll go back myself. Who knows how many people died in the war between Taoists and devils? I'm just an ordinary female cultivator. The devil race might not put me in their eyes. Fine. Xiaohua was speechless, then said, "Do as you wish. Do you hate me that much?" Yu Mingxin asked again. "You can't tolerate me staying here for a few more hours?" No, Xiaohua hurriedly denied. "Even if Lady Yu doesn't leave, this old man won't say anything." Yu Mingxin looked at Xiaohua and sighed. "Xiaohua, you're obviously so approachable. Why are you so heartless towards me?" Xiaohua was speechless. Yu Mingxin didn't seem to ask for an answer. She walked to the side of the bamboo pavilion and looked up at the moon. Her gaze followed the moon as it gradually set. When the first rays of dawn rose, the east was about to break, and the three suns jumped out of the horizon. Yu Mingxin turned her head and said, "Daoist Xiao, this junior will take her leave." Chapter 41-24. The words Daoist Xiao seemed to sever all ties. Xiaohua's heart ached as he raised his hand. "I'll send you off." "No need. I have my own legs." Yu Mingxin was still stubborn. As she spoke, she flew into the air. "Green-robed Taoist." Xiaohua called out softly. "Help me send Lady Yu back to the incense cult." "Sai, what a good girl." Green-robed Xiaohua flew out and shook his head. "Why don't you cherish her?" Xiaohua rolled his eyes. "I do want to cherish her. But do you think I can take her away? What can I use to cherish her?" "You're quite considerate. Why don't you share some with her? It's your decision whether to take her away or not. If you feel that Hidden Immortal Continent and Dawn Rain Continent aren't suitable, you can bring her to Shenhua Continent. Shenhua Continent is full of vitality now. It's more interesting than the ruins." Green-robed Taoist Xiaohua said helplessly. "Emotions are emotions. They have nothing to do with one's heart. I've only seen Lady Yu a few times. How could I fall in love with her?" "Taoist, you still don't understand such emotional matters. When you have enough essence, perhaps you'll understand." Green-robed Xiaohua's eyes lit up. "Taoist, you mean we've profited from a disaster?" "Yes, of course." Xiaohua nodded. Being banished to Black Ruins Mountain was a disaster. Drifting in the heavenly prison for tens of thousands of years was also a disaster. Even being plotted against by the heavenly demon was a great disaster. However, now we're in a better place. Accidentally entering the ruins is an opportunity, and refining the heavenly demon is another. It's impossible to encounter such an opportunity in the three continents, or even Dawn Rain Continent. "Taoist, please send Lady Yu off first. When you return, we'll discuss it carefully." "All right." Green-robed Xiaohua clapped his hands and disappeared in the air. Xiaohua looked at the place where Yu Mingxin had disappeared and sighed. He then released his divine sense. After looking for a moment, his figure flickered and a faint thread of fire flashed in the air. He used the fire escape technique to fly tens of thousands of miles away. When Xiaohua reappeared, he stood in the air and looked around with satisfaction. This was a wasteland, and there were no signs of human habitation, cultivators, or devils within 1,000 miles. There were only withered yellow mugwort scattered all over the boundless mountains. Occasionally, there were some undulating hills, on which stood some unknown plants with thumb-sized berries hanging from the sharp branches. There weren't many rivers in the wilderness. In some places, there were deep ravines carved into the ground. In the middle of the ravines, there were brown mountain rocks. Xiaohua looked at it for a moment, then made a hand seal. A yellow light flashed around his body, and his whole body fell to the ground. "And let's do it here." Xiaohua's figure moved under the ground for a moment. After observing for a while, he stopped about 100 feet away from the ground and said to himself, "The heaven-earth essence qi in this area is extremely rich. There are no sects nearby, and the devils won't notice this place. Although there is a teleportation array not far away, few people use it. Ordinary cultivators can also come here. If I build a teleportation array here, it shouldn't attract anyone's attention." After saying that, Xiaohua waved his hands and shot out 365 jade talismans. It took him half an hour to set up the Capital Heaven Star Array in an area of more than 10 mu. When the Capital Heaven Star Array was set up, Xiaohua released some puppets and let them clean up the soil and stones in the capital Heaven Star Array to make room for the teleportation array. At this time, green-robed Xiaohua had returned. How come you're so fast? Xiaohua frowned as he looked at green-robed Xiaohua's figure gradually appearing. Green-robed Xiaohua raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, "What? Taoist, I still want to send her back to the Seven Ridge Mountains?" "Yes, that's what I meant." Xiaohua didn't hide it. At this time, the devils are rampant. There's still a long way to go from the southwest border to the Seven Ridge Mountains. Green-robed Xiaohua rolled his eyes and said, "Didn't you not want her? Why are you so concerned? These are clearly two different things." Xiaohua was helpless. Yu Mingxin saved our lives. Sending her back to her sect safely isn't a big deal, right? Green-robed Xiaohua looked at the puppets that were busy and said with a smile, "Don't worry. Although I didn't send her back to the Seven Ridge Mountains, when I followed Miss Yu to the teleportation array, we met the disciples of Fragrance Cult and Xindao sect. Among them was one Wuxia, whom you saw earlier. There were dozens of them, and they said that they were going to Qinghe under the orders of their sections. After Miss Yu heard this, she didn't return to the Seven Ridge Mountains for the time being, and went with them to Qinghe. I saw them enter the teleportation array before returning." "Qinghe?" Xiaohua slightly nodded. "According to the battle report from the discussion hall, there aren't any devils in Qinghe. They probably have other missions, right?" "Yes, I also thought so I returned without worry." Green-robed Xiaohua blindly moved. "Moreover, even if I send Miss Yu back to the Seven Ridge Mountains, as long as the devils in the ruins aren't eliminated, she'll be in danger at all times. You probably can't do anything about it, right?" "Sai, that's true." Xiaohua could only nod. "If Miss Yu's personality isn't so stubborn, I can help her raise her strength. That would be the best." "Hee, if that's the case, she won't be called Yu Mingxin." Green-robed Xiaohua chuckled and changed the topic. "Oh right, what did you say our opportunity in the ruins was? Take a look at this." As he spoke, Xiaohua took out the orthodoxies of the 8 sects in the southwest that Confucian cultivator Xiaohua gave him, and handed them over to green-robed Xiaohua. Green-robed Xiaohua took it and opened his mouth to swallow it. However, after a moment of hesitation, he placed the jade slip on his forehead. In just a short moment, shock appeared on his face. Then he carefully read through all 8 jade slips before closing his eyes and pondering. After an entire hour, he finally looked up at Xiaohua and enunciated each word clearly. "Fellow Taoist, the cultivators of the ruins. Do they cultivate the nascent divinity arts? Is it the Tao sect's primordial spirit technique?" "That's right." Xiaohua also nodded solemnly. "The Confucian cultivators of the 3 continents cultivate the primordial spirit. So there are realms of refining essence into qi, refining qi into spirit, refining spirit into void, and refining void into heaven. In the ruins, the Tao sect's cultivation system is different from the 3 continents and Donrain continent. They also cultivate the primordial spirit, and the realms are refining essence, transforming qi, returning spirit, returning void, refining void, and transforming Tao. Apart from the last transforming Tao, the first 8 realms are almost exactly the same as the Confucian cultivators. However, the Confucian cultivators cultivate the qi of righteousness, while the ruins cultivators cultivate the qi of heaven and earth." "That's strange." Green-robed Xiaohua comprehended a lot of cultivation methods, and his understanding of cultivation methods and secret arts was also extremely deep, but he was also somewhat confused when faced with such a different cultivation system. The Tao sect cultivators of the 3 continents and Donrain continent cultivate the nascent soul, but the Tao sect cultivators of the ruins cultivate the primordial spirit. So why do they all use the qi of heaven and earth? And many of the arts are the same as well. There are 2 possibilities, Xiaohua said indifferently. First, the 3 continents and Donrain continent are lower realms. Not only is the qi of heaven and earth there not abundant, but it's also different from the ruins' qi of heaven and earth. It can't allow Tao sect cultivators to cultivate the primordial spirit. But the ruins is a higher realm, so the qi of heaven and earth here can allow Tao sect cultivators to cultivate the primordial spirit. That makes sense. Green-robed Xiaohua nodded. Other clones might not be able to detect it, but I can clearly sense the faint fluctuations within the chi of heaven and earth with the help of the formless nascent soul. This is something that the three continents don't have. Then what's the second? The second is the essence energy. Xiaohua answered. If it wasn't for the heavenly devil, I still wouldn't know that we human cultivators still have essence energy in our bodies. Even more so, I don't know the importance of this essence energy and how to use it. Fellow Taoists must also know about the rejuvenation pill that we refined previously, right? I'm afraid that there's a small amount of essence energy mixed in it. That's why it has such a miraculous effect. Fellow Taoist means that the essence energy in the bodies of the ruins cultivators is different from the essence energy in the three continents and Dawn Rain continents human cultivators? It's not different, the essence energy is presumably the same, but the amount of essence energy contained in each human cultivator's body is different. Xiaohua said with a smile. You can see the difference from the orthodoxies of the 8 great sects. The first stage of Tao sect cultivators is to refine essence. Only those who can control the essence energy in their bodies and refine it for their own use can be called Tao sect cultivators. The essence mentioned by Confucian cultivators seems to be the essence of essence, energy, and spirit, right? Green-robed Xiaohua probed. It should also be the essence of essence energy. Xiaohua explained. However, the essence energy in the bodies of the humans of the three continents is really too little, so they have to borrow the human qi, in the noble qi to refine it into qi. In that case, it should be a great opportunity for fellow Taoist Confucian cultivator. What does it have to do with us? Green-robed Xiaohua was completely stupefied. Fellow Taoist, Confucian cultivators often hear people talk about essence, energy, and spirit. Only with these three things can there be a living person. This essence is the most basic foundation of a person. Xiaohua said with a smile. And for fellow Taoist and your clones, although you've used the external incarnation technique to separate yourself, you can't be considered as living people. Who says we can't? Green-robed Xiaohua almost stomped his feet. Isn't the person standing in front of you a handsome man? But fellow Taoist, do you think you'll love Yu Mingxin? Xiaohua's eyes turned as he said with a smile. Love. What's love? Green-robed Xiaohua was a bit bewildered. Could it be that fellow Taoist feels sorry for Yu Mingxin and wants I to replace you? People often talk about the 7 emotions and 6 desires. The 7 emotions are happiness, anger, grief, fear, love, disgust, and lust. The 6 desires are the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind, the 6 desires. As for human nature, it's even more impossible to use words to express it. Xiaohua said again. Fellow Taoist and the others are currently only clones of I. They still don't have the 7 emotions and 6 desires, so they can't be considered as separate people. And this essence energy is the most basic foundation for fellow Taoists to become human. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.